welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of the Tenacious Turtle Tussle number 17. I'm, of course, host VIP, and with me, I'm joined by these amazing players, by the people in the chat, and by the sun as it's greeting me, as it's rising over the horizon. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Great to be here once again for another week of StarCraft. And this, as you know, if you don't know, is an open tournament. It is an open tournament open to all regions, all shapes, all sizes. The bracket is live, and we're jumping in. We're jumping into our first series and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Site Delta. We have the Finnish Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Berserker Esports. It is Mixu. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Canadian Terran player, the Green Terran, representing Team Gosu. It is Greenert. We go, and as we are jumping in, if you're in the chat, predictions are now open. Place your bets on who you believe will claim the series. It is time to gamba. It is time to wake up as well. I just woke up like 10 minutes before the cast. We're here. We are good to go, jumping into the Tenacious Turtle Tussle. And again, if you look at the bracket is stacked. We have our returning finalists as well. We have, of course, Björn and Shin. Björn and Shin, they were the top two players of last week's TTT, and now they have returned once again. I was hoping that maybe Trap would make an appearance back-to-back. Trap was here earlier last night in Sparkling Tuna Cup, but alas, was not able to wake up early enough for the Tenacious Turtle Tussle. Did let us know that if he could wake up in time, he would be here, but alas, just a little bit too early. Is still in bed. Smooch, puppy, smooch. Regardless, the game is as it was last week. Can anyone stop those two players from facing? Can anyone stop Shin and Björn? For now, we have two amazing players before us. We have Mixu and Greenert. Mixu likewise did have a pretty strong performance last night as well. Did make it all the way to the semifinals of Sparkling Tuna Cup, and even walked away with some extra prize money, as Mixu did win the random raffle last night. And really, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. That's all that does count. Big win for Mixu and during the Tuna Cup. For now, settling in, Hatch Gas Pool going for a third base, standard opener so far from our Zerg player. Likewise, Greenert's going for a Rax Expand into Factory, nothing crazy so far. Greenert likewise settling in. Reaper dipping into the natural. Ooh, does get surrounded. A little bit too greedy, a little bit too cavalier here, and the Reaper will go down. Does get one Ling, almost got a drone as well, but just like that, the Reaper gets shut down. Mixu can opt to go for some hidden tech behind this, now that Greenert's in the dark, but for now, just droning. Just droning up, settling into his own economy back at home. Greenert is going to be in the dark. There's a little bit of uncertainty now in the mind of Greenert, as he has limited scouting information, but we'll soon go for the Atom Swap into Hellions, into being active on the map once again. I suppose you should get a bucket of water. Nah, it's okay, man. It's okay. How better to wake up than with some StarCraft? True. True. As things get across the map, again, because Reaper went down, there's no use of these Lings being back at home, so they're able to delay some mining time here at the natural base, just containing Greenert on a one base economy, and this is all because that Reaper went down earlier. So far, nice damage here by Mixu. Back across the map, droning up, getting into more queens, and oh my god, with Greenert's 1-1-1, I mean, I was waiting for something more aggressive here, as again, there is no third CC, and we have the answer. It is going to be a BC. Fusion Core is on the way. Greenert's rushing towards battle cruisers, and Mixu, for the time being, is unaware. He's unaware what's going on. We do see Greenert finally expanding on the low ground, finally taking control of his own natural base, muling, rallying his workers. And we'll see if he can catch Mixu off guard. For the time being, Mixu is producing queens, as he should. Has a decent queen count, is droning on up. Is aware of the 1-1-1 opener for the time being. And should be getting spores ready soon for potential Banshees. For now, though, just queens. Just queens for Mixu. Meanwhile, the first BC is on the way. Now, there are some more committed variations of this build, like 2-port BC, for example. Interesting. Armory's on the way as well. Bearing in mind, though, Mixu does see this. Unfortunately for Greenert, Mixu does spot the armory, so Mixu is fully aware of the Hellbats. Baneliness on the way. Immediately, Baneliness is on the way. Lair has started up as well, so Mixu is fully aware of the potential of Hellbats. He's going to be getting ready for at least that. It's going to be a BC Hellbat push from Greenert. The worrisome thing, of course, is that Mixu, for the time being, is fully focused on the Hellbats, and there are no spores ready in the mineral lines. Mixu is not ready for the BCs. And there's a second starport. Okay. So, not exactly the 2-port BC build that we were expecting, but we got there in the end. I mean, there's a third CC first, so third CC follow-up, then into a more delayed second starport, but it's all coming together. Really, Greenert, he heard our prayers for 2-port BC. He's like, you know what, I'll get there, It's okay, Pop, it's okay. Greenert, he knows. He knows how to wake a Zerg up. Aye. Speaking of BC, does dive in, going for the main army. Banelings have Morton as well. It's going to be 10 Banelings here for for Mixu. We got there. Banelings are ready. Hellions yet to morph into Hellbats. Banelings are waddling in. Oh my god. Oh, and they are punched up. They take a lot of volleys. Hellions so far trading well. The BC, they're taking a lot of damage already by the Queens. And the BC does go down. The BC gets hunted down by the Queens. That is a massive loss for Greenert. The Hellions do no damage. They were chipping away at the expansion, but the hatchery does stand strong. First BC goes down. Yamato's on the way. And ideally, when you're rushing into mass BC like this, you want to build up their damage over time. You want to have them build up in general, getting up to 2, 3, 4, 5 BCs. Spire's on the way. Mixu didn't even have any spores. Had nothing ready in the mineral lines. There's one spore in the main. There was a lot of potential for damage, but alas, Mixu, he defends, he deflects, and Greenert's in a rough position. A lot of momentum has been taken away. He's now getting back into BC production, of course. Third starport? Okay. Third starport on the way. Just doubling down on the mass BC. And there is still potential for damage until the Spire finishes. Once the Spire is done, once we get a solid Corruptor count out, then I'm concerned for the BCs. They will come across the main army. Queens are waddling forward. Once again, they will zone the BC away. Yamada goes off. Gets a Queen. But here comes the rest of the army. You have the Road Ravager zoning the Hellions away. Bailing's falling back. And they're going for the mineral line. Yeah, they do get peeled off, and the workers are going to try to escape, but they cannot. Oh my god. Yeah, so many SCVs, 12, 13, 14 SCVs going down. The third base has been broken. The BC count is slowly getting higher, but the Spire is now done, and Corruptors are on the way. Nice amount is at least on the Queens. Yeah, the Queen count is going to be reset. BCs take a lot of damage. Mixu rotating over towards the south. BC's forced to teleport back home. The Hellions, they do shut down the Lings at least. Oh, the Miles! The Miles do connect. One BC goes down. Not like this. Again, BC's not the most maneuverable of units, and from here, Mixu can back up, take down these depots. Is building up more Corruptors back at home. And trading nicely here against the Hellions as well. Hellions, they do bypass the main army. They're going for a counterattack. I do like this a little bit more here for Greenert. Has potential as Hellions, they're busting into the natural. Corruptors trickling in as well. BCs are able to hold their own, and the Hellions, they do get into the natural base. Drones are going down. Finally, Greenert doing some counter damage. Meanwhile, we have the full wall here on the high ground with the Bailings. Few moves here out of Mixu. BCs are being hunted down, or another BC falls. Oh, that's going to be 17. Oh, the Bailings! Oh, massive connections. 16 drones go down. Not bad. Greenert does deal some nice economic damage. He forces back the Roach Ravager. But what about his main army? I mean, we have 3 battle cruisers against how many Corruptors? 6? Oh, that's not too many Corruptors. Greenert, he can shut this army down. Corruptors are on the way. But these BCs have 1 Yamato each. And the Corruptors have arrived. Yamato's going up. One of the BCs going to go down. Ooh, does teleport away in time. It does teleport away. It's all about how much damage this Road Ravager can do before it gets cleaned up. I'm still very concerned about the low Corruptor count, as we're down to 2 Corruptors. More SCVs going to be going down. Yeah, it may not matter in the end. 19 SCV kills. Another BC falls. A bit of miscontrol out of Greenert, bringing that weakened BC back into the fight. And even though Greenert does defend, god, that was still 20 workers falling and a BC. Back home, Mixu has a greater economy, droning on up to 78, up past that even. Over 80 workers. Building on more Corruptors. Now, I am a little bit concerned for Mixu. I know things are still looking quite bleak here for Greeners as the friendly fire. Oh my god, dragging in the mine shot. But moments like this, for example, where these BCs are going to trade quite nicely. They shut down all the Corruptors. They force back the Roach Ravager. Greeners is still not looking ideal, but we spoke earlier, like the power of BCs comes in high numbers, right? If they build up over time, then they can pop off, and now we have 4 BCs. And we're not stopping. Like, the BC count is getting higher and higher. It's getting a bit out of hand. But it's going to be a one-way trip. The BCs, they cannot teleport away. Oh. And another BC goes out. Never mind. I was like, yo, the BC count is building up. No, not anymore. They teleported across the map, and they're going to be hunted down. They're going to be shut down completely here to 3 BCs falling. Yeah, big overextension. GG gets called, and Mixu will take game number 1. Ooh, GG. Well, that was an interesting game. that was a game. GG, well played. I definitely do see potential in Greenert's build, though, because there were a couple of slip-ups here and there where Greenert did end up losing some BCs early on. Did end up losing some BCs. And because of that, he wasn't able to really hit critical mass, but it did look quite possible. Did look quite possible there compared to what Mixu was kind of bringing to the table. With that, GG, well played. Ooh, we're now settling into game 2 on Post Youth. We'll see if Greenert can bounce back and bring together a different kind of build, or if he goes for the same. Do we see mech again? Do we see mass BC again? It's possible. It is possible. So ladder, exactly. The NA ladder experience. Let's go. As spawning in the top right-hand corner of Post Youth, we have the Finnish Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Berserker Esports. It is Mixu. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. Oh my god! I haven't seen this before. But we have our Canadian Terran player going for a bit of a Gangnam Terran, kind of half a Gangnam Terran. We have the green Terran player from land of Canada, representing Team Gosu. It is a Greenert. So this is a phrase that I guess hasn't been used in a long time. So if you're a bit of a newer viewer of StarCraft, maybe you're a little bit unfamiliar, but a Gangnam Terran is a district in Korea. It's for rich people, basically. So a Gangnam Terran refers to a Terran player that lifts up their CC and floats over to a gold base. This was seen a lot more frequently on maps where there was a gold that was closer to the main base. I'm referring to, oh my god, Habitation Station. There we go. I was trying to remember. I'm referring to Habitation Station, for example, and I believe we also saw some Gangnam Terrans on, oh my god, Eastwatch. I think it was Eastwatch as well. But there were some specific maps that did have just a fresh gold not too far away from the main base, like close by air. maybe not close by ground, but close by air at least, and you can float over. And we see Greener doing something similar here. It's a little bit less valuable just because it's only half a gold base, not a full gold base. But regardless, Greener is getting a boosted economy early on, going for a CC first follow-up into a Rex, into a 2-Rex. Okay, interesting. Into a 2-Rex follow-up here, but quite greedy play to Greener. It was a CC before any of these production buildings. So very greedy play. We'll see if it pays off. When it comes to the numbers and if this is more or less efficient, I'm actually not too certain. I'm sure maybe there are people that have kind of crunched the numbers on that. But the idea of the CC floating, which means 0 income for quite some time, then getting into this, you know, half gold base, is it worth it? Yeah, I'm not too sure. It'd be interesting to find out. I would assume not, because this is the only player I've seen do this, so I don't. Gonna assume not, but we'll see. Time to without some horses, exactly. Beautiful. Someone call Sai, as Mixu is going for the 3rd base, does rush into the golds. Mixu likewise, hatch gas pool into a gold. I'm going for a Roach Horn early on, so once again going to be quite Roach heavy. Meanwhile, Greener's last game did embrace Mech, did embrace Mass BC, this time going into what looks to be the beginnings of a 2-1-1. As Stim is on the way, 2nd Rex is up and running. Ooh, did I say 2-1-1? That is a 3rd and a 4th Rex. Very aggressive follow-up, and this does make sense considering we're taking advantage of the gold base, or the half gold. So a very aggressive follow-up. My 5 Raxes? Jesus. That I was not quite expecting. So a 4-Rax follow-up is, I don't know if I want to say relatively common, but we see like players like Beyond do it all the time. It is very aggressive, very committed on 2 bases. Not all in, but committed nonetheless. It is a very strong stim timing. With 5 Raxes, this is becoming more and more like a 2-base all-in. Is looking more like a 2-base all-in. The way this works here is that it is going to be a move out at a timing with Stim. Stim is halfway done. There are no medevacs. Bear that in mind as well. There are no factories, no medevacs, no support for the Marines. It does mean that every Stim counts. So Greener has to be so careful with how and when he stims. If he stims too early, if he gets baited into a stim, then it's going to be permanent damage to his army. Meanwhile, Ling Roach is amassing here for Mixu. Marines are revealed. Greener, he still does not have stim. Still on the way. Trading nicely against some of these Lings. Going for the Roaches, and we'll get up. We'll get one at least. Gets one, gets 2nd Roach, but last does overextend and does get shot down. And not worth it here for Greener. Leading at how many Marines? 10 Marines go down. Now the army has arrived. Ravagers they can go for the add-ons. Oh, look at that! Sending away the Marines. Piles they connect. And massive connections. And Mixu is breaking through behind this. He's rallying more Lings. He's going for his own all-in. Has his own gold base. And he's flooding Lings across the map. Greener trying to hold on. Boys are being pulled. Marines are amassing. Stim is done. Oof. But the problem here is that, again, Greener was going for his own timing and he's stuck at home. To have a 3rd CC on the way, Greener is building up towards a longer game state. But Mixu, he's here and now. Still flooding more Lings, more Roaches. Now the Stim gets spent. Takes down another Ravager. Oh god, but the other Miles! They just locked down the army. A bit of friendly fire. Not ideal, but the Marines are cleaned up. Okay, Greener getting locked down. And Greener, he just cannot build up a massive amount of Marines. We'll shut down some of these Ravagers though. Mixu overextending. Losing 2 Ravagers. Yeah, Mixu is bleeding out bleeding out Lings here, and is it going to be enough? With this many Roaches, it should be. Okay, he should be able to start a step forward. More boys are being pulled. Mixu is so close to breaking Greener here and now. The boys, I mean, we have to pull extra boys. Lings have arrived to buffer. Nice stutter stepping here at the Greener, but alas, will still bleed out too much. SVs are falling, Marines as well. 16 workers going down. Does get us around on the Roaches. Greener, he's barely holding, but it's costing him so much to defend. say that, Mixu finally backs up. Lair is on the way. Greenert, he has a third CC, has triple mule, making seven Marines at a time. Greenert, finally he breaks out. Mixu getting ready back at home. Setting up for a surround. And he comes in from behind. They catch reinforcements, and oh god, Mixu, he will shut down this army. GG gets called, as that is all that Greenert had left, and Mixu will take the series 2-0. GG. GG. That was a wild game. GG, well played. That was a wild series, I should say. Game 1, we had Greenerts going a 3-port BC. Game 2, we had an interesting, I would say, 2-base all-in off of 5 Raxes. There was a third CC on the way, though, so there was maybe a little bit more longevity behind it. But yeah, both players being hyper aggressive. In the end, Mixu does come out on top, does take the series. Congratulations. Congratulations. Mixu will advance on into the next round, and the question becomes, does Mixu have an opponent? The answer is yes. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the back yourselves. We do have some updates. The entirety of the first round is done. Oh my god, the first round has wrapped up, and now we are jumping into the second. We have some updates. We have Nikic taking down Eon 2-0. We have Trigger taking down Defiance 2-0 as well. Likewise, Nickrak took down Patches. Geralt took a walkover over Medic Jr. And we have Xingming taking down Rebellion. That is a big win. That is a massive result. That's a massive result here for Xingming to bring down Rebellion to advance on to face off against Bjorn in the second round in the quarterfinals. And the entirety of the quarterfinals is underway. Shout out to Little Mac. Little Mac was covering Trigger series earlier and is now in the ZVZ between Shin and Nikic. So Little Mac is covering that series. We have our own Mixu versus Trigger coming up next. Mixu, he has something against these Canadians. He took down Greenert, Canadian Terran, now up against Trigger, Canadian Protoss player. Here we go. They are going to be facing a... So do need a moment to set things up. Vetoes are underway as we speak. And before I get ahead of myself as well, there was a resubscription during the timeout, or sorry, during the countdown screen. Shout out to Maestro Slow, bro. Good to see you, Pappy. Good to see you. I apologize for the stream being a little bit unstable at the start of the broadcast. Was cutting in and out, and we had to set things up. But GG. Thank you so much, Pappy. Thank you so much. As it looks like we have our lobbies, looks like we have our setup here. And we are jumping into our first game on Oceanborn. Here we go. We'll be jumping into Oceanborn. And apparently Trigger is still in Korea? Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I'm pretty sure like Australia, Future, Clem, they all returned to Europe, and oh my god. Okay, so yeah, I thought they were all like, you know, staying together for just a short time for EWC, and again, Clem, he went back to France. I went to Greece first, of course. I think Australia and Future went back to the Americas. But apparently Trigger is staying for a year. I had no idea. Again, I thought he was only staying for a couple of months. But Trigger, yeah. He's sticking around. Let's go. And speaking of, here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the Canadian Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Basilisk, still residing in South Korea. It is Trigger. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Finnish Zerg player, the Finnish Blue Zerg representing Berserker Esports. It is Mixu. Here we go. And if you're in the chat, predictions are now open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. But yeah, I just, it caught me off guard a little bit. I knew that Trigger was staying in Korea for a time, but he's staying even longer than that. So yeah, it's really cool to hear. I'm curious as to what the plans of Trigger are. Regardless, I know he is practicing quite hard and looking to improve. And yeah, just caught me off guard a little bit, but really exciting to hear that Trigger is going to be sticking around in Korea for even longer. Let's go. Like a migratory bird, Trigger seems to flee from Canada back to his homeland whenever summer comes. When summer ends. There you go. There you go. He's like a Canadian goose. Beautiful. He's like, it's too cold in Canada, papi. I had to get out. I understand. But now though, we're calming things down. Standard openers, hatch gas pull out of Mixu. Likewise, Trigger going for a gate expand into Cybercore as well. Everything looking as it should. So nothing too crazy. We do see Trigger, of course, harassing across the map. He is trying to force some inefficient mining here out of Mixu early on in the early game, being as annoying as possible before getting out of there. And when it comes to Trigger's playstyle, I mean, what I was going to say is that typically we see some standard play, you know, Stargate opener into mid-game aggression, nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy. But at the same time, I mean, Trigger, he spent quite some time in Korea, and I haven't been able to cast too much of him while he's been there. So I'm curious how the Korean meta, how the Korean ladder has impacted and influenced his play, if at all. We shall see. On top of that, Trigger, of course, was Clem's practice partner in the lead up to EWC, and Clem was showing off some insane TVP. You don't get much better practice than that. I mean, that's not as applicable to this matchup in this series, but still, you know, something to bear in mind for some potential future matches. Zeb's going to be threatening a shade. And Trigger does actually commit, getting to the mineral line. One drone already going down, getting a second worker as well. Yeah, strong start for Trigger. 4 drone kills already, well worth it for 2 adepts. Even shaving off some of these lings. Trigger, calm down. Trigger will slip away. Back at home at third base is getting up and running. Trigger is settling in. It does race back home. Lings, they try to punish the adepts. Ooh, but alas, with the activation of the pulsar beam, Trigger, he will defend. Will force back those lings. Behind this, getting into additional oracles, getting his third base up and running, and working towards that next step. Ooh, I assumed it was going to be a Twilight Council and a Forge, but no, it's going to be a Robo follow-up instead. Okay, Trigger, you have my attention. As the Adepts, they continue to shade in, getting 2 more drones. This time, not as strong of a trade. 2 workers for 2 Adepts. But Oracles, they deny mining at the third. And with this Robo follow-up, this can be to rush into Colossus. This is a bit of an older style. Showtime used to be quite fond of this. I say that, it used to be Robo alongside a Forge for +1, for a +2 Colossus timing. That's not quite occurring here for Trigger. As the Oracles, they get 3 more drones, Trigger pulling away. Meanwhile, we do see a bit of a counterattack across the map. One Adept does fall. Not a bad trade for Mixu. Gets an Adept droning up, and it is in fact going to be the Forge follow for those upgrades, but it's going to be an Immortal first build here from Trigger. So Immortal Sentry. And still no Twilight Council. So Trigger is mixing it up here in the mid-game. Now going for a more delayed Twilight Council. Now this could be for just the Temple Archives for Charge Lot Archon Immortal instead. Trigger, we'll see how he does piece this all together. But again, because the Twilight Council is delayed, he's not going to be active on the map anytime soon. Like, harassing, yes, with Adepts and Oracles, but he's still going to be building up. As his upgrades are delayed. Whether it comes to his Twilight Council, his Forge, all that is going to be later than normal. But he makes up for it with an Immortal count. And on top of that, he's hiding the Immortals in the main. And yeah, there it is. Charge is on the way. Soon to be Archon production as well. With the Temple Archives. Trigger is building up for an eventual move out. Same time Adepts to hit the third, getting 6 drone kills in conjunction with the Oracles earlier. 6 drones go down. Aye, but they're not done. Oh my god, getting another drone. 7 drone kills, 8 drone kills. There's that Temple Archives, Gateway Explosion, and Trigger will soon move out. No 4th base in sight. This is going to hit like a truck. The Prism's on the way to reinforce. And back at home, what does Mixu have to work with? Mixu is getting a 4th base. He's taking up into an infestation pit. And Mixu's in the dark. He doesn't know how aggressive, how assertive Trigger's have to be. Trying to scout with his links. Getting his 4th base saturated. Likewise, Trigger also throws in a 4th. But again, with the arrival of that War Prism, he should soon be pushing. As the 4th is late, and Mixu will soon be aware of that. See the 4th still in production. Mixu going for Swarm Host. Let's go. Infestation Pit is done. Swarm Host production has begun. Now, Swarm Hosts are actually really good in this position just because Trigger doesn't really have a mobile army. He has no Blink Stalkers. He has no Blink. He went for Charge instead. This is a scenario where Swarm Hosts can do well. But again, I feel like Trigger should soon be pushing, and defensively, I'm not so sure about Mixu's position. If he can buy time, if he can get the Swarm Hosts across the map, then sure. Trigger is still building up. Getting up to how many Immortals? 4 Immortals, 4 Archons. The army is coming together. The Swarm Hosts do move out. Swarm Hosts are spotted! Oh my god. Trigger, he sees everything. Does rotate in time. Archons are in position. Nice juggling with the War Prism, but one of the Immortals goes down. Nice catch. One Immortal does fall. Mixu rotating over towards the left-hand side. Ooh, is going to be shut down, though. The Force Wheels do lock down the Roaches. And the Roaches, they get punished here. They get punished so hard. So many Roaches go down. That was what? That was 19 Roaches. Oh, my God. The Force Wheels were brutal. And Trigger does take a better fight. He doesn't lose anything to the Locust Wave. He shuts down the Roaches. Again, with 4 Immortals, the Roaches, they don't do much. Mixu getting ready for a frontal assault this time. Locust Wave coming in, going for the Immortals. Oh, at least trying to. Trigger pulling back. There's a shield battery, there's an overcharge. 1 Archon goes down. Not a bad pickoff. There's the overcharge. Yes, Elsa coming for a flank. They just shut down those Roaches. They do catch him. And Mixu has to retreat once again. Now, the numbers do lie. The soup does lie here, where Mixu, he does have a larger army supply. That is true. Ooh, takes down the Oracle. But it's mainly Roach Ravager. It is inflated supply, as another Oracle is going to go down. Oh, just barely escapes. Swarm Hosts are barely not ready. Locust Save now comes off a cooldown. And Trigger has the overextended. Locust Wave is in hot pursuit. Gets off the Archon. 1 Archon goes down. The Immortals are exposed. And those Locusts, they do so much damage, they take down another Archon. Yeah, this is Mixu's moment. Is breaking through. Good juggling once again by Trigger. And without the Locust Wave, the Roaches, they have to back off. They have to retreat. At the same time, Trigger, he had the freedom to go for a Zealot run by. I was curious, where were the Warpins? Where were the Gateway units back at home? They were harassing. They were harassing instead, getting 2 drones. Not too worth it, but they do drag Mixu back home. Meanwhile, Trigger takes the 5th base and is taking into Sky Toss. So Mixu, he has defended. Now, because Mixu has bled out so many Gateway units, he has no pushing potential. He has no pushing power, I should say. He's stuck at home. So Trigger's going to be turtling. Going to be turtling up, building up towards carriers. Until then, can he survive? The Immortals are under fire. Once again, the Immortals are barely saved. Trigger holding on. Deflecting Mixu. To deflect. Smiles they take on some of the side defense. With Trigger, he does buy time. And this time we do have the Locust Wave going for the natural once again. Draws themselves to defend. Shield battery as well. We'll try to buy time. Ooh, meanwhile, that's going to be 23 drones going down. 23 workers. A handful of roaches. They slip into the mineral line, and Trigger, he didn't notice. Oh, did not notice. 24 probes falling. Again, it wasn't the Swarm Host. It was a hit squad of roaches instead. And the entire mineral line did go down. A massive amount of economic damage. That should not have happened. And Mixu, he's remaxing. Spire is on the way. Hive as well. The roaches are still there. They have burrowed. No tunneling claws. They're just chilling. And Mixu, he is fighting damage. In a head-on fight, I'm less so confident. Takes down another Immortal. Nice biles. Local save takes down a handful of probes. Roaches yet to unburrow. In the midst of all this, Trigger going for a massive counterattack, and this time it's going to be Mixu being out of position. Oh, drones are going down. 14 workers do fall. Nice use of the burrow to save the drones. But here comes the main army. And Mixu, even though he has a Spire on the way, he's not ready. He's not ready with the Spire. He has some Roach Ravager. He has some Swarm Host. But not enough. Not against this kind of army. And too many Archons, too many Immortals. Locust Wave gets spent. Hatchery goes down. And Trigger can take the fight. And this ground army's just gotten out of hand. GG gets called, and Trigger will take game number 1. GG. Finally, he was able to break out. Finally, able to counterattack. And again, he was thinking about Sky Toss. He was working on it, but did just snowball out of control with his Immortal Archon-based army. And alas, Mixu, he was just outscaled over time. Was stuck on Roach Ravager. Had no Hydras. Had no Swarm Hosts. Nothing else, no Broodlords either. GG. GG, well played. But Mixu had his own moments, I do want to say. Mixu, he had his own moments as well. When it came to harassing, when it came to sniping some key units like Immortals and Archons. But alas, could not contain Trigger forever. Trigger did eventually break out. And with that, we're getting ready for game number 2. Here we go. Swarm Host in 2024. I mean, we have seen Swarm Host work. They can work quite well. But when it comes to Swarm Host, typically the first Locust Wave, the first and second Locust Wave need to do the most amount of damage, just because they're ideally meant to be a surprise, right? Ideally, the Protoss player is out of position, they have less stack defense to defend against Swarm Host as well, and you're able to get a mineral line, able to pick off some tech structures, able to snipe a base. The first couple of Locust Waves are the most important, because after that, then Trigger's on notice, and then he has shield batteries and cannons and warpins everywhere. Then he's a lot more attentive when it comes to base defense against Swarm Host play. And we saw the first Locust Wave didn't do anything. It was shut down quite hard. In general, the Swarm Hosts weren't able to they weren't able to gain much value. It was the Roaches, if you remember, that were able to get a mineral line later on. But last Trigger was prepared and ready for the first wave. Was ready for it. So it is quite risky to try to make use of those swarm hosts. It is quite risky. Can work, but you have to catch your opponent with their pants down, papi. And Trigger, their pants, they were up. It was crazy. Never before seen. Player with their pants up. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have the Finnish Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Berserker Esports. Down in the series, we'll see if he can bounce back here in game 2 and force the ace match. It is Mixu. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have the Canadian Protoss player living in the land of South Korea, representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. Trigger needs one more Onomas to make it onto the semifinals, bearing in mind that Shin, the South Korean Zerg player, is actually waiting in those semis. Already lying in wait. Here we go. Again, in the last game, Trigger did want to go for an earlier timing, but because of the Roach Swarm Host aggression Trigger, he was just stuck at home, stuck defending, just building up, and eventually did snowball out of control. But we'll see how our players do adjust this time. We'll see if Trigger goes for Blink. We shall see. Probes are moving out for a scout. Mixu going hatch gas pool. So far, the openers are standard. So far, everything is looking normal. But in the mid game, can be anything but. As we've already seen from Trigger. Likewise, we're loading into Site Delta, a bit of a more open map as well. The bases are more spread out, more exposed. The boys are being pulled out. Oh, the probe is shut down. Nice catch by Mixu, as Trigger did rally into the mineral line, and alas, no safe space for probes. The probe is cleaned up. Nicely done. And with that, Mixu, okay, I was gonna say Mixu could even skip out on Lings and go for an earlier hatchery without being concerned with a probe denying the expansion. But no, Mixu makes 6 Lings. That I was not quite expecting. Oh my god. Okay, now we see why. Roach Warren. So Mixu, he doesn't pull out a gas, he stays in, he throws out a Roach Warren, and this is the other way. So in my mind, this shows how different we are. In my mind, oh, you killed the probe, that means you can be more greedy. Mixu, oh, I killed the probe, that means I can all in. True, I guess. Yeah, not wrong, not wrong. You go to one extreme or the other. And here we go, Lings are moving out across the map. Trigger does have a full wall. Trigger's not fully aware of how aggressive this is. He's playing it safe. Pylon is going to be targeted down. No shield butters. Everything gets depowered. No shield butters behind this. And Mixu's rallying across the map, and Trigger is in trouble. Backup pylons on the way. Twilight Council just now finishing. Oh, the gateway is repowered, but for how much longer, as that pylon is so low? Stalker has arrived. Pylon's going to fall. Backup pylon does finish up. But once again, there's no warp gate. Oof. Do have a backup pylon, thankfully, but the warp gate, the cyber core, it's being surrounded. And we're still rallying across the map. Yeah, cyber core falls, warp gate is denied. And what is there left? There's one stalker, one sentry, there's a force field. We have to make use of it. We have to hold on for as long as we can. The pylon is about to go down once again. Shield battery is up, and everything gets depowered. Oof. Yeah, no shield battery, no overcharge. Mixu is breaking through. The gateway under fire. Dark Shrine opener. I mean, if we can get some DTs up and running, then we can defend. But Trigger needs time. He has been re-walling. The army's still not breaking through. Pylon does fall. But we have another pylon behind this. Yeah, Lings, they flood in. The wall has been broken. Lings are pushing forward. Boys are being pulled. There's still just one Stalker and one Sentry to defend. And it looks like Mixu has done it. He brings down the Stalker. GG gets called, and Mixu will tie up the series 1-1. We are going to the ace match. Whew. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Trigger having a really rough start. Again, he lost the scouting probe. Without the probe, it's hard to determine how committed and how aggressive your opponent's going to be. For all Trigger knew, it could have just been initially Lynx to harass, and then a third base behind it, and an economy behind it. As we saw, it was Lynx into a roach all in. Like Mixu just doubled down, did commit, and Trigger just had no real way of figuring out what was going on, of getting across the map, and scouting his opponent. And with that, GG. GG, well played. We're getting into the ace match. Meanwhile, looks like the upper matches have concluded. We do have Bjorn taking down Xingming 2-0. Bjorn is waiting in the upper semifinals. Likewise, Shin is waiting in the lower semis. And now we're jumping into the ace match here. We're going to be following the winner of the series into those semifinals. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Ghost River, we have our Canadian Protoss player. The red Protoss being forced into the ace match. Can he bring it back? Representing Basilisk, it is Trigger. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the Finnish Zerg player, the blue Zerg, representing Berserker Esports. It is Mixu. And again, we are loading into Ghost River, the smallest map in the map pool, very short rush distance by ground. It's going to be imperative here that Trigger does not lose a scouting probe. Not this time. Probe dips in. Mixu force take the unnatural natural. And yeah, this time Trigger, he doesn't traverse into the mineral line this time. It does skirt around the edge, being as safe as possible. Will scout, will confirm the expansion. And the probe will survive. The probe lives this time, it lives. Let's go. This Mix was selling into his hatch gas pool, standard opener. And Trigger after that last game gonna be a lot more on notice, I'm sure. But I imagine Mixu is going for a different approach. I mean, he has to, because the probe is still there. Trigger getting his revenge. He wants the drone. Oh my god, he wants that drone. Gets very low. It's tempting to dive in. Very tempting. And Trigger, he wants it. Up, the drone. Up, oh my god. Gets one more shot. Gets one more. And alas, the drone barely does survive. 1 HP. 1 HP drone. Mixu does save it, pulls it back in. Trigger backs off. Oh my god. Trigger does retreat. And we can calm things down. Intense couple of trades at the start of the game. But from here, Trigger is just getting to his initial build. Depth is on the way. And going for a Stargate opening. Stargate for Trigger. Likewise, threatens a shade. Should be an Oracle opener. Into a third. And we saw how much damage Trigger was able to deal in that first game with his Adepts. Does get one drone. Just the one. Mixu will deflect. Second Adept has arrived. Trigger, he wants that worker. Alas is going to be zoned away. And Mixu does have a stronger defense this time. Behind is making extra lings. The goal here for Mixu is to delay the third base to hunt down the Adepts. Link speed does kick in. The Adepts, they make it back just in time. Okay, Trigger does make it back. The probe is going to be hunted down though, so with that, Trigger's third base is going to be delayed. Nice little pick off here from Mixu. Delays the third, droning up. Catches the Adepts. Uh-oh. Adepts are getting caught out. Trigger, he buys time, dragging away the Lings. And again, he's just buying time for Star Base to get up and running. And for the second Oracle to arrive. But last, we're down to only 4 Lings, so Mixu cannot really threaten too much. That does make it back home. And the Oracles, they finally get across the map, catching 3, almost 4 drone kills. 3 drones so far, not bad. Trigger catching some workers. Twilight Counter follow-up on the way. As the third base is getting up and running. No Forge yet. Interesting. The lack of Forge could be indicative here of something more aggressive, like Glaives or a 3-base all-in. But it could just be a delayed Forge as the Devs say get into the middle line. 6 drones going to be going down. The Devs are still alive. They head towards the natural. And this is getting out of hand. We're getting up to 8 drone kills. And back at home, are we going for Glaives? What's it going to be? Is it Blink or Glaives? Meanwhile, no Spore in the main base. The drone count, oh my god, plummeting here. 13 workers go down. And there it is Glaives. So Trigger following this up with Glaive Adepts. A 4th Oracle in production as well. Trigger just being hyper aggressive. He's not slowing down. Just doubling down on Oracle Adept. Pulling Mixu apart. Shading past the main army. Mixu barely unable to wall off. Spore slightly out of position. And we're getting into the mineral line. Roaches are on the way, but drones are going down. Too many workers at this point. Yeah, this is becoming critical damage. Adepts in the main, in the natural. Stasis going off. Not quite. Barely is denied. But this is critical damage. Meanwhile, Glaives was cancelled. I mean, it makes sense. I was going to say that I feel like Trigger has done enough damage without Glaive Adepts where it's a little bit unnecessary. Blink is on the way, and Mixu is feeling pretty all-in. Mixu is down to 42 workers, does force a recall, and it's all or nothing for the Zerg. And if Trigger has been too greedy, he was too greedy if he was cutting corners, and Trigger would be in trouble, but that's a wall of sight defense. That's so many shield batteries on the way. Trigger, he knows how much trouble he's in or how much danger he's in. He knows that the one way for Mixu to win this game is with an all-in. It's all or nothing for Mixu. Getting top of the shield batteries. Files say, oh, won't connect. Kiting back. Trigger just trying to buy some time. Blink is almost done. Ooh, and Mixu does make a worker for a moment. Does think about it. Denies the stasis. But there's barely any Ravagers, barely any Roaches. Lings, they do flood in. Lings, they bust into the main, but the Ravagers are caught out. GG gets called. And Trigger will defend, will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the semi-finals. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. The Trigger will take the series, will advance on, and my condolences to Mixu. He did bring us to the ace match, did bring us to game 3, but alas, was unable to keep up with the aggression of Trigger. We did see that multiple times in the series, Trigger, he was insane. It was insane with his Adept harass, with his Oracle harass as well. He was all over it. Was just pulling Mixu apart. And now we're getting ready here for the semifinals. As Trigger is going to be going on Trigger and Shin, they're going to be having a bit of a break here. The upper semifinals were ready first, and we're going to be jumping into a TVP between Bjorn and Geralt. Let's go. We have updates. We do have updates. As we have a look at the bracket here again. Sorry, I'm just making the lobby, just setting things up. are going to be setting things up here, and we do have those updates. So Geralt takes down Nicarak 2-0 in the quarterfinals, advances on the face-off against Bjorn in the first semis, and of course we have Shin, who took down Nikic, was waiting for the winner of Trigger and Mixu. So we have Shin versus Trigger and Bjorn versus Geralt. Let's go. We have our matchups, we have our semifinals, and we will be casting both semis, one after the other. One after the other. Just setting up the players, setting up the teams. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so if you're in the chat, predictions will soon be open. They will soon be open. And if you were maybe not here last week, then Bjorn was the previous champion. He's the reigning champion of the Tenacious Turtle Tussle. Can he win it again, or can he be stopped? Can he be shut down here by either of these remaining players, Trigger, Shin, and Geralt? We're here to find out, as the videos are done, and we are jumping into game 1 on Alcyone. Here we go. Jumping into that first game. I'd also appreciate that we do have, representation from all around the world here in the semis. We have our Koreans, we have a European, and we have a North American as well. I mean, Trigger is living in South Korea at the moment, true, but technically, still Canadian, still NA. And here we go, we're settling into our first semifinals, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Alcyone, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Orange Terran representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Bjorn. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the Polish Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing Psystorm Gaming. It is Geralt. And if you're in the chat, predictions are now open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. Best of luck with your predictions. And also a shout out as well to Stegosaurus. Again, a shout out to Stegosaurus, shout out to Mark BT. For those that are curious, this event is funded by some very passionate people in the chat, or passionate people out there, fans of StarCraft, I should say. Because of that, usually the prize pool of this tournament would be 150 USD, but for the past couple of weeks, including this one, it is 300 USD. So a 300 USD prize pool here. Top 4 are paid out, so congratulations to the top 4 players for making it this far. They are in the money, but who will take the bulk of that prize pool? Again, yet to be determined. So a big shout out to Stegosaurus and Mark BT. If you want to help fund the prize pool and help boost the prize pool, you can do so via Matcherino, !Matcherino in the chat to get a link to the Matcherino page. Each event, each Tenacious Turtle Tussle does have a Matcherino page where you can help boost the prize pool if you wish. Otherwise, watching is enough. So we are settling in. 300 Hondo, Bobby. It's crazy. As we do have Bjorn going for a double gas opener, double gas into a faster factory. Geralt does confirm the probe is going to be shut down, but is aware of the opener here from Bjorn. Let's go back at home, settling in. Geralt, of course, he's warmed up in this matchup. Took down Nicarak to make this far. Not an easy opponent. The probe does fall. You got the pylon to deny the add-on, just to be as annoying as possible. The Reaper, meanwhile, does move out across the map. Ignores the pylon for now. Moving across, Geralt does keep up, shuts down the Reaper, forces it back, and we have our tech of choice. It's going to be a Twilight Council for Geralt. We do have that Twilight Council opener. This Reaper does dip in. I've been seeing Geralt and Beyond face off a lot more often in recent times. Yes, yeah, 100%. They have been playing a lot more frequently. The reason for that is because when it comes to the ESL Open Cups, Geralt has been very active. He goes full degen. I'm sure for the Europeans out there in the chat, if there are any, it's very late in Europe, very late. And Geralt is one of the few that stays up for, or did stay up for the ESL Open Cup Americas, I should say. Players like Geralt, Skillus, Wayne. There were some select European players that would stay up for those tournaments. And as a result, they would face off quite often against players like Beyond. Some say degen, I say passionate players. Passionate players. Let's go. As Geralt would often stay up until 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning to play in these tournaments. Not just Geralt. I did omit 2 key players as well. Clem and Max Pex did the same. But very clearly, you could tell who were the degens in Europe and who weren't by just seeing who would stay up to play in those tournaments and who wouldn't. Not like this. But now, though, you see Beyond settling into his 1-1-1 and going for a mine drop opener here across the map, making his way towards the main. Stalkers are in position, and Beyond will confirm the third.
Complete.
Gets eyes on the third, rallying into the main. Behind this, Beyond building up his bio tank army. And Beyond doesn't commit. Not yet. Now, what I love about this, what I appreciate about this, is that, I mean, there's no rush for Beyond. He can always just keep this here in the back line, wait for another unit to distract, wait for another drop, another move out, and then dive into the main. So we'll try to keep up here with this drop whenever it does decide to boost in. And back at home, Beyond is still building up. Stim has begun, getting into his 3-1-1 setup. Wouldn't does boost in. Does go for the boost at last. Geralt, he does respond in time. Does pull away. And so far, we just get 2 probe kills. Ooh, medevac is going to be shut down. I say that. Oh! Ooh, barely does fall. And so far, a very nice defense here by Geralt. Cleans up the Widow Mines, cleans up the medevac, and only loses 2 probes. It's a very nice defense. Meanwhile, Raven follow-up into the main. Geralt does miss the move out. Is unaware of the army location. Barely does spot it. Oh! Going for the tanks. We'll at least chip away at the Marines. Blink is done. And Marines are going down. Not bad. Slowing down the move out. Beyond is committing. Geralt forced to recall back home. Does recall back to the third. Colossus on the way. And Beyond, now that he's been spotted, he thinks better of it. He does pull away. He will siege up in the center of the map. And Beyond doesn't commit. He respects Geralt's position. Will pull back instead, getting his third base on location. And the game will progress. Calming things down. Calming things down, saturating or Luna saturate his third. Meanwhile, Geralt's gonna be mixing in a Dark Shrine. Okay, you have my attention. Observer gets spotted. And more importantly than that, Geralt, he's actually not building up more Colossus. It's just the one Colossus, then going straight into Disruptors instead. It's a risky maneuver here from Geralt. At the same time, catches out the Medivacs. Gets 1, gets 2, massive pickups. Geralt, calm down. Catches 2 Medivacs. Beyond his drop play is denied. Raven pushing towards the third. At the same time, Geralt, he embraces the gold. Goes for the fourth. Fourth base is on the way. And Beyond, so far, his aggression has been lackluster. He hasn't done anything. Not by lack of trying, though. So rallying, building up. We have combat shields on the way. Getting into 1-1. Again, the Raven is least trying to distract Geralt. But Bjorn, he has not scouted the fourth. He's unaware of the gold. It's about to finish. Now, Bjorn can punish. He can set up within range and try to siege from the low ground or even just outside. But Bjorn currently is unaware. And after losing those medevacs, his army doesn't really have much sustain. And the Geralt, he's gone away with his disruptors, now going back to Colossus. Getting a more consistent splash damage. DTs are waddling in. DTs on the left, Zealots on the right, looking for a fourth base. And Bjorn, he has no turrets, does have some scans. And speaking of, does spot the DTs. A keen eyes there by Bjorn. One of the DTs will slip away. Geralt's going for the mineral line. Once again, though, he is spotted. And we'll get a handful of SCVs. 3 workers go down. But nice defense here by Bjorn. Doesn't lose too much. As Geralt is building up. Oh my god. Was a little bit supply block, killing some of his own zealots, making room for another disruptor. Pylons on the way. Now sieging up. Oh, Nova not quite connecting. Was a little bit premature. Laying siege upon the mineral line. Yeah, this is the risky thing about taking this gold base, is that the tanks are within range. And Geralt, he has to pull away. Long distance mining. Nova goes up. Up! Ooh. Gets a widow mine. Bjorn now with EMP. Dropping on the high ground. Geralt setting it for a zealot round by. Was spotted. The reinforcements back at home. Ooh, full medevac goes down once again. Ay, ay, ay. Zealots say at least delay reinforcements. Geralt wants to push in. Nova goes up. Ooh, a little bit trigger happy. One disruptor goes down. And the Zealots are still buying time. Still keeping Marauders pinned. Meanwhile, Geralt, he is down to 2 disruptors. 2 more on the way. He's just waiting for his moment to dive on the army. Ooh, EMP does connect. Nova does not. Geralt taking another expansion. Still going for the Zealot run-bys. DT counterattack even instead. Does blink in. Going for the planetary. Can he lift in time? Up! Oh my god, he barely will lift, but it's on fire! Yeah, boys are pulled. Does repair. Does keep it up and running. Whew. Planetary will survive. And the DCs are getting caught out. DT's getting caught. Geralt diving in. Oh! Finally catching the tank. Does get close enough. And Geralt, he knocks down those rocks, going for another Zealot run by. Catching Bjorn out of position. Zealots, they're going for the SCVs. Bjorn, he races back home. He thought about it for a moment there. Does have reinforcements, thankfully. Geralt breaking out. 11 SCV kills. DTs are still active as well. Geralt, he's all over this, and he saves the gold. He does save the gold base. Bjorn backs off. And Geralt is maxed. Geralt, he's maxed out. The gold base was not shut down. He's on 6 disruptors. And Bjorn is looking a bit in trouble here. I mean, he can still take a fight. Like, the armies are still quite comparable. And he steps in. It's going up. Oh, some okay connections. Better connections towards the end. Catching out Marauders. Geralt pulling away. Geralt was not ready for that fight. He was caught off guard. But doesn't lose anything major. Does pull back. At the same time, Dark Templar. Going in. There is plenty of detection, though. Going for the planetary. Planetary will barely go down. Jeez, DTs do so much damage. That's crazy. Planetary does fall. Bjarne setting up a counter drop. Geralt's in position. Geralt is ready for it. Bjarne being forced back, bleeds out a ghost. And again, whenever we have an engage like that, Geralt is always ready for a run by, whether it's Zealots, whether it's DTs, or even both. He's just so quick to respond, so quick to react. And again, these bases, they're left untouched. DT's coming in once again. Ooh, catching out the ghosts. 2 ghosts go down. 4 CC's cancelled. And the Novas, they punish the dive. Massive connections. The ghosts are going down. At the same time, though, Bjarne trading up with the disruptors. Nice target firing. Disruptors, they fall one after the other. One Nova goes off. But Geralt has the overextended. Colossus going down one after the other, and Bjarne, he has to commit. He's pushing out, he's breaking out. Just down every rubber unit. The disruptors and the Colossus. But here come the DTs. Yeah, reinforcements have arrived. Geralt, he's barely holding on. Forces back the army. And Bjarne is still on 3 bases, still no 4th. No expansion. The main is floating over. And GG gets called as Bjarne runs out of steam, and Geralt will take game number 1. GG. Oh my god. Geralt. He's crazy. GG, well played. Again, it was a very, very tense game where Geralt was barely holding on to his 4th. In the process, though, was able to pull off those DT counterattacks, Zealot counterattacks as well. Not just that, able to keep up with the drop play of Bjarne. If you remember, it all started with Bjarne losing two medevacs. One of them was full, the other half full at the time. Bjarne's drop play was denied, and Geralt takes the first game. GG. GG, well played. And now we're headed into Oceanborn. Headed into Oceanborn. And we'll see if Bjarne can bounce back. Quickly double checking here. It's going to be Oceanborn is game 2 and Side Delta is game 3. If we get there. If we get there. I'm sure Bjarne wants to bounce back, but alas, the pressure is on. Yennefer would be proud. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the Polish Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Sidestorm Gaming, leading the series 1-0, 1 game away from making it to the grand finals. It is Geralt. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Bjarne. As a reminder, this is a best of 3. And one more loss, one more slip up, and Bjarne will be knocked out of the tournament. Out of this week's event. We'll see how Bjarne can switch things up. Again, Geralt playing very well. It was very impressive to be able to, again, not just go for the non-stop counterattacks and run-bys and have the attention to detail to save them, preserve them, get away from scans, buy time, but also keep up with the drop play. The Widowmine drop, the Raven harass, the double drop towards the natural, and yeah, the aggression from Bjarne wasn't able to really get much damage. Wasn't successful. It wasn't just that, but because of the features of Alcyone as well, Geralt's expansions were left untouched. The goal base was under fire, true, but remember, Geralt, he expanded behind it. He was able to take a 5th base and a 6th base as well, and those bases were left untouched. Like, Bjarne just couldn't really push in that direction. He had no freedom to go for a drop play in that direction either. So Geralt's economy was unhindered in the midst of all that. This time, bit of a different story. This time, the bases are more exposed compared to Alcyone. Bjorn can be more aggressive. As this time, Bjorn is going for an economic opener. Racks expand. Racks expand into a delayed factory. It's going to be more economic initially here. For Bjorn. Likewise, Geralt scouting across the map. Interesting. Did go for a Zealot first. Skirting around the right-hand side. Probe dips in. Confirms there is no CC on location. And he confirms the CC on the high ground. So it looks like Geralt was trying to be cheeky. I believe the Zealot was designed to harass the CC and delay the expansion. But it is safe on the high ground instead. We'll see if Geralt can get anything else done. Marines are still on the way. And Geralt can go for the add-on. But now that's going to be 3 Marines. And a Widow Mine. And Geralt, he is zoned away. Behind this, once again, Twilight Council opener, working towards Blink. I imagine Blink. Geralt trying to bait out that mine shot. Oh! Ooh, a little bit mistimed. The depth does go down. And Bjorn will break out. Can finally expand. And can get into his own game. Once again, Bjorn working towards a mine drop. Was it for an opener, but still going for the mine drop nonetheless. As the second Stalker has arrived, and without Stim, the Marines are having a bit of trouble. And Widow Mine's forced to unburrow, or forced to land. Forced to reburrow. Bjorn going for a Widow Mine Marine drop instead, and Geralt is fully aware. Blink is almost halfway done. Stalkers are coming in to intercept. And can he catch the medevac? Can he catch it? Oh! Does try to. And will zone away. Medevac taking a lot of hits, and the medevac is trapped. Goes to the boost. Stuck in between these 2 bases. And, yeah, there's no way out for Bjorn. Not yet, at least. Not without a boost. Geralt's getting in position. Behind this, taking a 3rd base, embracing Blink. It was a 3-gate opener, I believe. Yeah, 3-gate Blink. And Geralt is safe and sound. At least this time the medevac does survive, and we can see the follow-up here for Bjorn. Much more aggressive this time, getting into tanks and Banshees. Cloakers on the way, Banshees are building up. This has been very trendy as of late. I mean, I say this all the time nowadays, but yeah, it's been very meta. Going tank Banshee. First Banshee making his way towards the natural. Robo is almost done. No detection yet. And the Stalkers are busy. Geralt going for a counterattack. Banshee is diving in. Geralt is not in position. And no shield battery, no Stalkers. Probes are going down. Good start for Bjorn. At the same time, Geralt, he looks to commit across the map. Oh. Goes for a defensive warp in. Banshee does barely move out. Across the map, there is a tank in position. 5 probe kills to 1 Banshee. Well worth it. The Banshee doesn't take any damage. And this time, Geralt, he's not having as clean of an early game as game 1. Takes down some Marines. Banshee gets another probe. Diving into the main. Shield battery not yet done. More probes are going down. It's going to be 8 probe kills in total. Getting even more, actually. 10 probes. And again, these Banshees are so frustrating to deal with. Even with just being Stalkers. So Geralt is pinned back. And here comes the move out. 3 tanks. Geralt does spot the army. Bjorn behind this is expanding. CC is almost done. Geralt trying to keep up with the multi-prong aggression. With both Banshees and the drop as well. Trying to keep up, refining his army, going Colossus into Disruptor once again. And Bjorn doesn't move out. Instead, he's more concerned with expanding. Taking a third to slowing things down. Getting into the mid-game. And yeah, as opposed to game one, like, Bjorn is in a better position. Has been able to hinder the economy of Geralt. Is now moving out. Now does push Geralt. He's going to be able to slow down the army somewhat, catching a Marine here and there. Disruptor getting in position. Scan ahead of time, spots the Disruptor. And Bjorn is not slowing down. Tanks are siege. Again, Geralt has to be so careful with the Disruptor. Massive tank loads go up. Gets 2 Stalkers. Two Stalkers go down. The drop has been freed. Bjorn can reinforce. Let's go. But he actually pulls away. Doesn't go in. Geralt being active as well. I do favor Bjorn's army if they engage. I mean, if Bjorn sieges. More reinforcements on the way. Zealots at the same time go for a counterattack. Trying to buy time. Bjorn instead of repositioning. Spots the main army. Banshee into the main. Drop as well. Oh, the Colossus are exposed. Yeah, Bjorn just goes for the stim. Takes out the Disruptor. Gets a Colossus as well. And Geralt just cannot keep up. Not against this kind of army. The drop does distract. And the 4th base is under fire. The tanks, they go off. Oh my god. Massive tank shots. And Bjorn after game 1, he's angry. He's upset. Takes down the 4th base. The Zealots are trying to get damage done, but there are plenty of reinforcements back at home. Bjorn is all over this. And from here, he can keep pushing. 4th CC on the way. Banshee was finally cleaned up. And there's 1 Colossus to defend. 1 Colossus, soon to be a Disruptor as well, but yeah, there's not much stopping Bjorn. Another big Zealot warp in, though. Zealots do warp in. The 1 Colossus taking a lot of hits, a lot of damage, and yeah, Bjorn is breaking through. Takes down the Zealots, the Stalkers, gets on top of the Colossus and the Disruptor. GG gets called, and Bjorn will tap the series 1-1. We are going to the ace match. Whew. GG. GG, well played. This time, very careful play out of Bjorn. He was a lot more attentive. He was a lot more conservative with his drops, with his harass as well. Just keeping Geralt spread thin. And with that, we're going all the way to game 3. Going to game 3. And we'll see how Geralt does change his approach. Ooh. Again, he was kind of being punished for being too active early on, if you remember. The Banshees were getting a lot of damage. They got up to 10 worker kills in total. They got 10 worker kills in the lead up to the fights, and again, Bjorn was being a lot more safer when it came to his first move out as well. And we'll see how this story does end. As we're loading into the ace match, we're loading into side Delta. Let's go. This could still go either way. Could it still go either way? Again, despite the showing in game 1, Bjorn showing us that, nah, he's still got it, papi. He's still got it. Still the favorite player, and here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of side Delta, we have the South Korean Terran player, the Orange Terran, representing Shopify Rebellion, tying up the series. We'll see if we can bring it home. It is Bjorn. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Polish Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Sidestorm Gaming, being forced into the ace match. We'll see if we can bring it back. It is Geralt. Here we go. We go. As a reminder, last game, Bjorn also went for a more economic start, went for a Rax expand, and I'm imagining we're going to be seeing something similar here as well in Game 3. Something more economic. That was an adjustment that Bjorn did make. And it looks to be the case. So once again, economic start here by Bjorn. He's done with the double gas. Not anymore. Not this time. We're in for a faster CC. Geralt's coming in for a scout. Zealot has begun. And if Bjorn goes for the CC on the low ground, then Geralt can try to punish this and delay. Here you go, he goes into the main, confirms lack of gas. Is aware CC has been thrown down. Now, unlike the previous game, oh, never mind. Unlike the previous game where Geralt made the Zealots and he wasn't able to really get any value, he was hoping for a CC. This time, could have maybe forced a delay here, but the Zealot was cancelled. Geralt did cancel in the end. I mean, side Delta does have a longer rush distance by ground, so maybe not worth it. Going for the Adept first instead. Adept is on the way. Now it does deflect. See in the chats, what did he do wrong there? He needed to scout the Banshees. How could he scout that early? I mean, there are players that just blindly are more defensive nowadays because Banshees have been so meta, because that build, I should say, has been so meta. Not uncommon for players to get like safety shield batteries or just stalkers already in position at the naturals. This time it is going to be a Stargate opener though, out of Geralt. Meanwhile, the Adept is shut down. Nice defense here by Bjorn. Shuts down the Adept, getting into his one-on-one. Working once again towards some draw play with the Widowmine and the soon-to-be Medevac. But Geralt is taking a very different approach. Opening up Phoenix for the first time this series. I'm assuming it's going to be Phoenix. Yeah, we go. Phoenixes are on the way. It's a good way to gain map control. Phoenixes, they shut down drops, they shut down Banshees, they shut down anything when it comes to early game aggression. Almost anything. Something like a 2-1-1 or a 3-axe can punish a Stargate opener, but that's not what we're seeing here. Bjorn is going for the drop. Back at home, safety shield battery at the natural this time. So Geralt playing it safe. Shield battery is done in time. There's going to be an overcharge available as well. 2 Adepts and a handful of Phoenixes. It's still not going to be easy here for Geralt. Phoenix is not quite in position. Drop is coming in. Drop does hit the natural. And Adepts do respond. And Bjorn gets the hell out of there. Does pick up, does evacuate. Still rallying across the map. Cyclone has arrived. We're getting the lock on. Getting a lot of damage on that first Phoenix. And again, committed bio pushes like this can punish Phoenixes quite hard. As what can they do? Pick up a Marine at a time. They will catch reinforcements. They get one. But a Viking has arrived as well, and Bjorn is just rallying across the map. He knows how close he is to breaking Geralt. We'll lose the Cyclone. Not quite. Again, this is where Phoenixes can struggle. Immortals are on the way. Geralt buying time. The first immortal has arrived. Oh, the might shot! Ooh, big connection. Might shot goes off. Yeah, rough rally there for Geralt. See a rough rally, Geralt diving in. Ooh, bleeds out of depths. Bay's on the way, another weapon as well. Beyond still rallying. We'll lose a Cyclone, finally a big pickoff. Nicely done by Geralt. Catches the Cyclone, moves that across the map. Bjorn has two Cyclones left and a Viking. Geralt finally has the freedom to move that across the map instead. Delays the CC. The army is revealed. Phoenix is a recall back home. The recall back, Widowmine gets shut down. And bearing in mind these are vanilla Marines, no stim, no combat shields. Bjorn has to back off. Whew, and Geralt has defended. And only lost one Phoenix. So far. So it's a very tense defense out of Geralt, but he does pull it off. Does punish, shuts down the Cyclones. He gets every single Cyclone. There is a tank behind this, but it can't be lifted. Ooh, I say can. There we go. Does get lifted in the end, and now Bjorn is in trouble. Bleeding out far too much. Every Cyclone, every tank. And again, these Marines, they don't really have much going for them. The CC is still not restarted. Bjorn, he hasn't begun. It's been delayed for so long. There we go. Now pulling a boy. Get the CC back up and running. Behind this, Geralt is already on his third. Colossus on the way. Geralt does have momentum on his side. Bjorn is contained. And behind this, Geralt taking a greater economy. Getting to Phoenix Colossus. Third base soon to be taken, and Geralt will back off. Doesn't want to test his luck. Backs off with his main army. Phoenix is rotating towards the main. More Colossus are amassing. And Geralt does get a full scout, getting eyes on the Raxes, on Stim. As Bjorn moves out, Bjorn gets punished. Ooh, getting 5 SCVs, 6 SCV kills. And almost a Viking as well.
Game paused.
As it looks like we do have some latency issues. We have a bit of a pause with this latency. I was going to say Uber Eats, but it is like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, so I don't think that's the case. Regardless, more than happy to wait for any issues to be resolved. Thankfully, there's no big fight going on. There was some harass, but no big clash. Oh, it's all good. We can catch up. Live, yes. Tis live, always. We don't host reruns on this channel, so just as a heads up. The most that we have is like delays, or if there is a replay cast, usually it's in the title. In the title on YouTube or on Twitch, we'll say like replay cast, if that was the case. Here we go. Oh, all good. Looks like the issue has been resolved.
Game resumed.
Alright, jumping back in. The game will continue. Yeah, Phoenix is still posing a threat to the third. At the same time, Bjorn going for a double drop. Phoenix is not quite in position. The drop does get into the main. Oh, no shield battery, no army whatsoever. Geralt is racing back home. Yeah, forced to recall. Recalls into the main, extend double lands, under threat. Can he get it? He can. The upgrade is denied. At the same time, Bjorn pushing right through the center. And again, Geralt, he's pulled out of position. He's not ready for this. Defending against a drop. Rotating over, Colossus in the main. Another Phoenix goes down. Okay, Bjorn pulls back, doesn't commit. He thought about hitting the third, but thinks better of it. regardless, has looked quite nicely. Because the Bay went down, it isn't just denying the upgrades, but also denying any additional Colossus or Disruptor. Disruptor production has been delayed. Oh, Geralt even getting supply blocked. Geralt had a strong start, but fumbling a little bit here in the mid-game. Geralt trying to find his footing. Working towards Storm even. Temple Archives in production, good for Storm, for Archons as well. And again, with Disruptors, Geralt, he can deal with this quite easily, but without them less so. Bjorn stimming in, pushing towards the third base. Geralt trying to buy some time. Disruptor production has finally begun, but they're so late. Does have that supply lead. Gaining ground, taking down pylons. Can Geralt get a tank? Not quite. Gets a medevac. Makes up a medevac. Ghosts have arrived. And Bjorn goes with the stem. No shield battery. No overcharge. He wants a Colossus. Gets one. One Colossus goes down. And Geralt, he's up against the wall. Not like this. Massive EMPs. On everything, the Phoenixes and the Colossus. And Bjorn is looking to snowball out of control. The first Disruptor is about to arrive. But Geralt has already lost so much. He's already lost so much of his army, so much of his buffer. Yeah, Geralt, he cannot save the base. The fourth base goes down. Geralt coming in from behind. Catching a medevac. Getting two. Two medevacs go down, but Bjorn can't be stopped. Takes down another tech structure. No more Archons, no more Storm. Nova goes off, D's a connection. But just the one Nova. And again, Geralt, he had a good performance in this series, even a good start to this game, but he's struggling to hold on, and we're just going for a Doom Drop into the main base instead. Bypassing the third, dropping into the main, full medevac goes down. Just the one. Not again! No! The Bay! Get out of here! The Bay is gonna go down for a second time! No Colossus range, no extend double lance. The drop is gonna be shut down though. Nice cleanup here out of Geralt. Not bad. Takes down all of the Pyro. But the third base fell. The third base has fallen. Geralt trying to re-expand. Bjorn getting a fourth up and running. That was a nice cleanup, but Bjorn can still outscale Geralt. As he pulls back. Now, from here, Bjorn is vulnerable. If Geralt goes for, say, a big all-in, there could be a chance. But this army is still not looking too threatening. There are 3 Disruptors, true. We need more Warpins. We need more reinforcements. Back at home, Bjorn securing himself, throwing down a ring of turrets. Like, Bjorn knows that now is the moment for Geralt. And Bjorn is getting ready back at home. Geralt rotating around. Geralt double expanding, getting his third base up and running. Still heavily oversaturated, so even though the worker counts are comparable, Geralt is oversaturated. He needs another expansion. Still a run by diving in. Last are reinforcements. Oof. Watch what's going on. Oh my god. Yeah, punishing the blinks. Nice Nova. Geralt is holding his own at the same time. Zelarumba here towards the left hand side, but there's a planetary. There's a planetary in position. The Zels say do nothing. And they run into tank fire. Bjorn rotates, he checks for the fourth. Hasn't been rebuilt. And not towards the south at least. Bjorn looking for the expansions. Again, Geralt is trying to stabilize. Bjorn, unfortunately, though, is the first to max out. He's maxed out at this point. Geralt being so cheeky with his disruptors, but the scan does reveal them. Bjorn knows. And he's going for a split push, and Geralt just doesn't have the supply to defend both locations at once. He will try, though. Being dragged towards the north, that means this space is exposed. Again, Geralt just doesn't have the numbers. The Nexus is going to go down. Geralt, once again, the fourth base is denied. Not like this. Geralt, he just wants an expansion. There he goes off. Up. Some okay connections. 3 Novas for two Marauders. Not ideal. Bjorn being forced back. At the same time, comes over from behind, goes for the fourth. Now the third. And the third base is going to fall as well. Bjorn just sniping base after base. And Geralt can't stop it. Again, Geralt, he just cannot defend. It doesn't have the numbers. Another massive EMP. And that catches a ghost. One ghost goes down. Threads drop into the main. Better Nova. Not bad. But again, Bjorn is just mass expanding. He's just taking more CCs, more bases. More command centers on the way. Again, this was a good effort by Geralt. Again, he had I would say, a better start as well. But it all came down to the drop play. All came down to the initial Robotics Bay being sniped. That was the beginning of the end for Geralt, and now another base is going to go down, tries to recall and save the probes. Bjorn, he pushes into the natural. And the natural has been broken. Not again, the Bay! For the third time! Yeah, this time it will survive. Good connections! Nova's going to be going off, punishing the dive of Bjorn. At the same time, Bjorn, he just goes for the expansion, goes for the third. And even though Bjorn will lose his main army, will lose the first force, will still just pull apart his opponent. Gets a Colossus, Disruptors as well. Massive pickoffs. Getting a third, getting every Disruptor. Not like this. At least Geralt does save the base, but how much longer? As Bjorn is nibbling out of control, stepping on forward, does spread out his army. Avoids the splash damage. GG, good luck, and Bjorn will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the grand finals. GG. And GG, well played. Bjorn just pulling Geralt apart with his drop play, pulling him out of position, and just creating these opportunities for himself to just find these openings to get on top of these bases, the fourth and the third. The tech as well. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. Bjorn is going to be our first finalist. And the question becomes, who will face off against him in those grand finals? We're hopping over to the Korean server to find out. Meanwhile, a shout out to Geralt, because again, he had a good start to the series with game 1, and even here in game 3 as well, he wasn't looking too bad at all. Was holding his own for a time, until he wasn't. Regardless, GG, well played. Oh. My apologies. Hold on, I have to find our players. As Shin versus Trigger is about to begin, and I'm assuming it's going to be on the Korean server, question mark. I'll have to double check. Okay, there we go. We are switching over to the Korean server, and we're getting ready for our next semifinals. It is going to be Trigger versus Geralt. Let's go. Let us go. For those who don't know, we did mention previously that Trigger is actually still in Korea. Trigger initially went to Korea alongside Estrella, Future, and Clem. They were all staying together in a bit of an Airbnb team house. They just for the lead up to EWC, for the lead up for the Esports World Cup. Clearly, that did pay off for Clem. Did pay off. But Trigger's still there. Trigger, he's still in Korea, and will stay there for the next couple of months at least. What's up? Oh, my apologies. There we go. It is going to be Trigger versus Shin in the lower semis. There we go. Vetoes are underway. And from here on forward, all the matches are going to be on the Korean server, so minimal latency for our players. Do love to see it. As we are getting things ready, vetoes are underway. Shout out to Little Mac as well, as Little Mac has been covering some of these matches over on his channel as well. Much love, much love. Here we go. So we are jumping in. Oh, making sure everyone gets involved. Vetoes are done. Game 1 is going to be on site Delta. If you're in the chat, predictions will soon be open. As a reminder, Björn is waiting for the winner of the series. And will this go the way of Shin or Trigger? Honestly, I feel like this series is going to be quite close. I do think that Trigger is a little bit underrated, especially in the most recent months, because Trigger has had less opportunities to really showcase himself and showcase his skill, but he has been staying in Korea for quite some time. Has been improving, has been leveling up, but we'll see how he compares. We shall see. Can he deny the rematch? Again, our Zerg player here was the runner-up of last week's tournament. Will he reprise that role and make it to the finals once again? Here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of Site Delta, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg representing Gaiman Gladiators. It is Shin. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Canadian Protoss player, the Blue Protoss representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. And if you're in the chat, predictions are now open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. As a reminder, this is a best of 3, and this prediction is for the entirety of the series. Best of luck. As Shin is going hatch gas full. He's getting into his opener. Likewise, Trigger back at home, going for the gate expand. Now, we were able to see Trigger's PvZ earlier today against Mixu, and Trigger was, again, very fast, very intense when it came to his Oracle and Adept Harass, was quite successful with it. We'll see if he can achieve that again here against Shin. Gas is now being taken. Trigger being as annoying as possible. Likewise, Shin is not the most standard of players either. We recently casted, I say recently, last night we covered Shin versus Trap in a PvZ in the grand finals of the Sparkling Tuna Cup, and Shin did not play standard at all. He was just always in the face of Trap with Ling aggression, with Ling Bane, with Roach Ravager, with these timings, with these all-ins essentially. There were some games where Trap was the aggressor instead, but for the most part, Shin was in his face. Can play standard, don't get me wrong. Can play standard, but often doesn't. There we go. As the probe is going to be forced back. Back at home, Stargate opener from Trigger. Nothing too crazy so far. The Stargate going for oracles. And Shin will soon be taking that third. Trigger attempting to confirm, and he will. Third base is spotted, and the probe will get away. Shin is making an extra wave of lings here. It's going to be 8 lings in total, which is quite a bit more than usual here. We'll have them to harass to keep up with the adepts, to minimize losses. And if the adepts go down, Shin can then threaten the third base. But things are very quickly snowball out of control. Yeah, more lings are on the way. Shin does want that map control. Adepts are racing back home. And we'll see if Shin can catch them. Yeah, link speed about to kick in. Shin moving out across the map. Third base has been placed. Oracle moves out as well, and Trigger will get eyes on all these lings. He's fully aware of what's going on. Adepts are in position. And Shin is going to try to go for the surround. Pro doing an amazing job here at just buffering, at body blocking. One adept will fall. Oh, and can Shin get the other? Barely can. Gets both. Guess who gets all 3? 3 adepts going to be going down at the same time. Oracle across the map gets 1 drone, just the 1. And Shin does outtrade. Things back at home, we're able to defend. Oops. Oracle forcing a cancel. But alas, Shin does save his workers, only losing 1 drone so far. 1 drone going down. Trigger, his third base is exposed. More links on the way. Trigger doesn't quite get more workers. The oracles, they take a lot of damage, a lot of hits. Oof. Some enough damage here on these oracles. Trigger being forced back. And behind this Trigger, he's working towards a standard transition. We have a Forge, we have a Twilight Council, Robo as well. Getting to +1 and Blink. But until then, we'll see if he can hold on to his third. The oracles, they come in for a second round. 2 oracles towards the third, 1 oracle towards the natural. Shin is keeping up. Shin does defend. Oh my god. Almost gets an oracle. Interesting. Now, I assumed it was going to be +1 and Blink, but no, Trigger is going for +1 and Charge into Charge Lot Archon. Okay. I mean, we saw something similar in Game 1 against Mixu. If you recall, similar. If you recall in that game, Trigger did go for earlier Immortal and earlier Robo and Immortal production. This time is headed in a similar direction. Shin, meanwhile, going for the Spire. We mentioned earlier that Shin, he himself is not the most standard of players, is being hyper-aggressive with Lings early on, and rushing into mute attack. Stays in the main. Oh, no reaction! Delayed reaction by Shin. Nicely done here by Trigger. Finally getting some counter damage. Finally does get across the map. At the same time, Shin moving out and will deny the 4th. Oof. Forcing a cancel. Even cleaning up these Zealots. These Zealots are a tell. Now Shin is aware. I mean, he scouts the main. But he is aware of the Charge Lot Archon. And that's going to make it even more difficult here for Trigger to keep up with the mutants. There's no Blink Stalkers. No Blink Stalkers. No Phoenixes. No Scout yet from the Protoss. Oh, another Stasis in the main. Oh my god. The back-to-back Stasis. Shin a little bit too distracted. But Trigger has yet to confirm. It looks like he did spot the Spire. And there we go. Cannons are on the way. Cannons at the 3rd. There we go. Cannons in the natural. That is to tell. Trigger knows. I'm assuming, otherwise there's no reason to get static defense in the natural base. The main is still looking exposed. Phoenix production has not begun. Yeah, we go cannon in the main. And there it is. First Phoenix is on the way. So Trigger, he did spot it. He did spot it. He is aware. Phoenix is Mute is moving out. Trigger is fortifying himself. This means they rotate towards the natural. Stalker's in position. More cannons, more shield batteries. Arguably too many cannons. you could argue. But regardless, the mutas are forced back. Well, they will pick off a Phoenix. Not bad. One Phoenix goes down. Shin pulling away. Now, how many mutas did he invest into? 6 mutas. Only 6 mutas. That's only enough to harass. Going for the High Templar. Gets 1. Gets 2. Massive pickoffs. Gets a 3rd High Templar. 3 High Templar go down. And now Shin moving out with Roach Ravager. And there's only 1 Storm. Only 1 High Templar left. Those are massive pickoffs. Storm is spent. But alas, we should have had 3 more. There should have been 3 more Storms. Alas, Shin is maxed out. He's going for the dive. Massive stasis does go up. The stasis traps for Trigger. Harassing and defending as well. They've been popping off. Shin still gaining ground across the map. Zealot counterattack will wreak havoc. Mineral line will fall. Well, that's 9 drones going down. Queens as well. The Zealots are doing a lot. But can a Trigger hold? He has 1 more Storm. It's going to be spent, but the main army gets surrounded. Files connect. And Shin is snowballing out of control. He may have lost the mineral line, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. As the 4th base has been broken. And Shin is still just rallying across the map. Again, the mutas were the MVPs. Even though they got scattered, even though there was no big commitment into the mutas, they caught 3 High Templar. Full of NG as well. And with that Trigger, he's now up against the wall, stuck on 3 bases. The probes are caught out. And Shin cannot focus his attention on the 3rd. Behind this, droning up. Lurker Den on the way. Hive is done as well. Shin getting ready for a Lurker transition. Shin splitting off an army. Going for a link run by. Again, Trigger trying to keep up, but alas, the win condition here for Shin is just to contain. Just to maintain that base lead. And keep a Trigger on a 3 bases. Lings, they flood into the natural. They flood into the main as well. Hero! No! As the wall was not a wall, it was wide open. The Lings aren't getting much damage. Contamination in the main. Love to see it. But the Lings, they only get 3 probes. Not bad. It really is hero. I mean, it makes sense because we have cannons, right? The cannons from the mutas earlier did defend, so the Lings, they don't do any damage. They catch 5 probes, which is something. But that could have been so much worse. Could have been so much worse. The cannons coming into play. 4th base in production. Trigger is attempting to stabilize. Now, on the one hand, things are looking okay for Trigger. He defends, he's getting a 4th base, he's building up his army. That is all true. The problem here is the Lurkers. Is the Lurker tech. As we have, what, 6 Lurkers on the way, 6 already done. It's going to be 12 Lurkers in total for Shin, and Lurker upgrades are on the horizon as well. So Shin's army is becoming more and more well-defined, more refined even. And Trigger's going to have a hard time pushing in. Lurkers are set up. Shin does need some support for the Lurkers, though. Getting in position. Storms do connect. Nice Storms! But it's still not enough. Trigger has to pull back. Does get 7 workers in the mineral line. Nicely done. Trigger rotating around. Zelarama hit towards the north. Gets the spine crawler. Distracting Shin. Shouldn't get into the mineral line. I say that the spines are going down. These are +3 zealots. The upgrades have been on point. Bearing in mind, Trigger does have +3. Zealots are cleaned up. More lurkers on the way. Oh my god. Getting up to 14 lurkers. Looks like 3 lurkers went down to the storms earlier. To the main army. Shin building up his lurker counts, walling up with more spine crawlers. Trigger rotating around. Trigger is still very much so in this. Nice stasis. Lurkers are exposed. Yeah, Shin being forced back. Again, I love these lurkers. They don't really have much support. A lurker going down. Trigger trading well. Again, the immortal count is looking quite terrifying. Lurkers, they can do nicely against a ground army, if not against this. Against Archon Immortal. Trigger can brute force his way through. +1 air attack on the way. Trigger is thinking about Sky Toss. Rotating around, denying creep. Shin is now contained. And behind this, Trigger takes another expansion. Getting a 5th. 5th base is on the way. Shin out of position. Unable to keep up with the rotation. Storm goes up. Takes down the Hydra, and the base is going to fall as well. Massive pickoff. Shin down to 4 expansions. 4 hatcheries against 4 Nexus. Or 5 even. Shin down to base. Going for a second Spire. Working on upgrades. But again, Shin cannot dive on this army. Oof. Oh my god, massive storms. Roach counterattack does get spotted. Trigger pulling back. Stasis does go off, giving him time. 4 Stargates on the way. Trigger getting into Sky Toss. And Trigger, he's back in the driver's seat despite how dire the situation was looking earlier. Shin, you could argue he stuck around or stuck on Ling Roach Ravager a little bit too long. Trigger has stabilized. Massive storm. And again, Shin is still just stuck at home building up more lurkers. Meanwhile, carrier production has begun. Trigger is in control. Catching out more lurkers. It's gonna be 8 more lurkers on the way. Jeez, we have, oh my god, we have 25, soon to be 27 lurkers, but we're not in position. Once again, Shinny just cannot keep up. The base is exposed. And lurkers are going down. Massive storm, and the hatchery is going to go down once again. Meanwhile, Shin going for a desperation Night Storm across the map. Trigger not in position. He has to recall. Uh-oh. Night Storm, it's going to finish. Carriers are on the way. There's a mothership. Mothership to defend. Can cloak. Just the one lurker. Trigger, he commits. There is no detection. The one lurker is getting damage. Oof. Big spine shots going off. Again, bearing in mind, Trigger cannot push into lurkers. That's why Trigger has been rotating the entire time. Lurkers, they get across the map. Shin getting some breathing room, forcing back the army. Still the one lurker in the main. Trigger doesn't want to pull back, though. Doesn't want to pull away. Again, beautiful. Oh my god, insane storm. The expansion is going to go down. Bailey is saved by the cloak. The game is getting chaotic. The expansion is saved. Finally, Trigger has control of his bases. Another Nidus on the right-hand side. Shin still trying to expand. Shin is holding on. Pushing in between the bases. Night Templar, no! Night Templar! Oh my god! Calm down! Templar getting caught. And that means that many less storms. There's only 3 High Templar. 3 High Templar left. Pushing out once again. More lurkers on the way. Wraith armies is still comparable. Oof. Yeah, again, Trigger just cannot push into these lurkers. Not head on like that. Shin now has +3 of his own. Has his upgrades. Trigger rotating. This expansion towards the north is looking exposed once again. It's looking vulnerable. How many lurkers? 21. 21 lurkers for Shin. Pulls away a little bit too much. The base is exposed. Yeah, Shin out of position. Expansion goes down. Ooh, massive storms on the lurkers. Mothership should fall. Oh, but the storm on the Hydras. Oh my god, the Hydras, they melt. Hydras, they take it to the face. Trigger pulling back. He will lose a carrier, but does trade well. Panic recall. Yeah, calm down, Trigger. I mean, Trigger is ahead. He's excited. Calm down. That does mean recall is no longer available on the mothership. He's excited, man. He's excited. He knows. He's so close. More carriers are amassing. He's up to 6 High Templar. As the Vipers are denied. Nice feedbacks here from Trigger. Yeah, the Vipers, they do nothing. I mean, they were sniping. They did snipe a carrier earlier. Nice stasis here on the main army. And Trigger, he's going for the expansion. He is going to get surrounded, though. Shin trying to collapse in. Trigger, he has to back up. Doesn't get the base. Trigger pulls away. He's able to shut down the flank. Yeah, Shin, the surround is denied. More Vipers in production. Shin, he holds on to the expansion. For the first time in a long time, he's on 5 base. Oh, he's actually still on 4. And never mind. Still on 4 bases. Has a fresh mining base, though. A crucial expansion for Shin. Zealot run by is denied. Trigger pushing forward. Where are the lurkers? Uh oh. The lurkers once again. They know where they need to be. Shin, he's all in. He's completely all in. The base falls. No economy left for Shin. It's all or nothing. He has how many lurkers? 16. 16 lurkers, 4 Vipers, and Mass Hydra. And we're going for a base trade. We're going for the base trade. Trigger does have a recall if need be. Does have a base recall. The mothership is still up and running as well. Mothership into the main. And there we have the recall into the main base as well. Going for the tech. Shin turns around. Does find bottom left. Does find an expansion. Hydra Den, Lurker Den, everything's getting sniped. Shin will go for bottom left. And these bases here for Trigger, they're running out of money, running out of resources. Trigger on a 1 base economy. Does recall his workers to safety. That means there's no more recalls left for Trigger. We'll get another expansion. Shin makes it back home in time to defend his last mining base. And Trigger doesn't have to commit. But the yoinks! Gets a carrier. Oh! Has to spend 2 abductions, but does get 1. Shin is on half a base. Trigger on 1 full base mining. Storms are coming in. Oh my god, massive feedbacks. Massive storms as well. But 4 High Templar go down. Was that worth it? Oh my god, the storms are insane! Storms are popping up, but it does push up a ramp into lurkers. The army is low. GG gets called. Shin, he runs out of steam, and Trigger, he fights back, and he takes game number 1. Whew. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Very, very impressive there by Trigger. Trigger had a rough start. He had a very rough start. If you remember, it was Trigger that was denied the 4th. He was denied the 4th base. He was being called out. His High Templar went down to the mutas. As a reminder, it was a Spire opener. I say Spire opener. It was initially mutas here from Shin into Ling Roach Ravager. Was doing very well early on, but Trigger did stabilize. Again, you could definitely argue that Shin took a little bit too long to transition out of Ling Roach Ravager. did throw away a lot of Lings, if you recall, going for the run-by. And Trigger did eventually stabilize, did bring it back, and did take game number 1. Whew. GG. GG, well played. In the aftermath, it wasn't just that. If you recall, Shin was having a really hard time keeping up with the rotations of Trigger. I see someone asking, like, why no Corruptors? If you recall, I mean, there's a response in the chat, but if you recall, Shin had no economy. He was denied the 4th base and the 5th base over and over and over again. Again, he was just having such a hard time keeping up with the rotations. Because of that, his economy was quite limited. Likewise, he couldn't quite invest into upgrades for those Corruptors as well. He was going, if you remember, he was going for a 2nd Spire, but wasn't quite able to invest. And again, it wasn't really the Sky Toss that was killing him. It was the Ground Arm, it was the Archons, it was the Immortals, it was the High Templar, it was the Storm. It was really catching him off guard. Really, the carriers were more of a supportive unit for Trigger. But regardless, we're settling in. Settling in. And we're moving out. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Dynasty. A very odd map. I'm surprised that we're loading into this map of all maps, as it is often vetoed. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Gaiman Gladiators. It is Shin. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, leading the series 1-0, we have the Canadian Protoss player representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. Trigger, he checks, he scouts the goal base, making sure that Shin isn't being cheeky. Shin going for the standard expansion. Now, when it comes to Dynasty, it is one of the most vetoed maps in the map pool, and whenever we see it in a Zerg game, whether it's against Terran or Protoss, usually they take the gold. And you can see Trigger even checks. He checks to see if the gold base was taken on his side or across the map, and Shin hasn't gone for the gold. So already I'm concerned. Usually we see like all-ins from Zerg players. Zerg players that go for all-ins typically on this map. A macro game is very difficult for Zerg on Dynasty. The reason for this is the gold. Trigger, a Protoss or a Terran player can take the gold base quite freely. The Zerg player cannot. Hello, drone. As Shin is moving out with a worker, and he's going for the proxy hatch. We're going for an all-in. This is for the course here on Dynasty. Like, macro games are not often successful for Zerg players here on this map. So Trigger should be aware that something is wrong, but this is a very unique build. Again, this is a much later proxy hatchery for Shin. Not as early as Trigger was expecting, so Trigger's not scouting. Everything looks normal. It's hatch gas full. Everything looks normal from the side of Shin. We know that it's anything but. Okay, so a delayed proxy hatchery from the Zerg player. From here he can spread creep, he can reinforce across the map. Are we feeling like spine crawlers? Question mark? I'm really curious how this plays out. I believe as well that the creep isn't going to be spotted when the creep spreads from the hatchery itself. It's going to be close. As Trigger does reinforce, does main out over. Yep, it's spine crawlers. Boys are being pulled. And we're going for a delayed spine rush on the mineral line. This is very interesting. A very unique approach from Shin. I have not seen this build before. I'll be honest. We cast StarCraft on a daily basis here. We cast a lot of StarCraft. This I have not seen. Spine crawlers are being thrown down. And the creep is spotted. Trigger, he knows. He does spot the creep. Trigger is aware. The Trigger gonna try and respond with pylons, with shield batteries. It was an Oracle opener, and I don't think there's a way for Trigger to deal with this. Like, how does he clean up these spine crawlers? He has Adepts and Oracles. And the spine crawlers are about to finish, and they're about to get within range. Shin even taking the gas. Takes the high yield gas geyser. Queen has arrived. Spine crawlers started stepping forward. They do get within range. And what can Trigger do? Nothing. A Trigger, he can make a Void Ray. Yep, there we go. Void Ray's on the way. Like, the Void Ray is the best option here for Trigger, considering his production. Oracle will snipe the Queen. But Lings, they hit the front lines. They're going to be keeping that Void Ray busy. Going for the Stargate, going for the Cyber Core. More Lings are on the way. More Spine Crawlers as well. Sorry, more Spore Crawlers even. That's crazy. Going for a Spore Rush alongside the Spine Crawlers. Shin, he's wild. Second Stargate on the way. Trigger is going Mass Void Ray. Forced to main out over. does have a 2-base economy. Void Ray has arrived, but there are Spore Crawlers. The Overcharge will top of the Void Ray though. The Void Ray, can we clean this up? The first Spore is going to go down, but just the first. Void Ray falls, massive pickoff. At the same time, Lings are still wreaking havoc, still going for the Stargate. The Stargate is being targeted, and the Overcharge was just used. Overcharge now on cooldown. Oh, the Oracle has arrived. Lings, they're not breaking through. Trigger's holding. He holds the natural. Barely. Oh, I say that, Lings, they come back. Lings, they have returned. Shin has thrown away a lot of Lings this game. That is, I say that, only 16. 8 more on the way. Lair tells us that Shin is backing off. He's backing off. He should be transitioning. Droning up, taking a 3rd base. Shin is calming things down. Meanwhile, the Mass Void Ray turning into Mass Phoenix instead. You have my attention. Well, that Queen is getting quite a lot of damage. Phoenixes are amassing. Trigger is still on a 2-base economy. Shin wants that Stargate. Well, there's another Overcharge. Stargate is saved. Now, Shin does get eyes on the Phoenixes. Shin is aware. He's aware of the Phoenixes, and we're going to need Queens and Spores. The Queen count is very low. The reason why the Queen count is low is because of this proxy. And the proxy is being cleaned up. Yeah, with the help of shield batteries, this one Void Ray does stand strong. Oh, we almost have a Transfuse. Oh, just barely. Transfuse does go off. But the Void Ray will still come out on top. Takes down the Spore. Shin long distance. Shin long distance mining. Let's go. He's still droning. He's still saturating the gold. He's crazy. He's lost his mind. Phoenixes, they get across the map. Hydro production that will soon begin. Este Shin. But the Phoenixes are getting value. Catching Overlords. Catching Workers. And denying mining here at the 3rd. Well, I guess the 4th? Is this technically the 4th base? Kappa? Queens are waddling in. We have 3 Queens to work with to defend, and more Spores on the way. Adept's gonna try to poke into Spine Crawlers. Phoenix is going for the dive. They go for the Queen. Spine Crawler's gonna go down. Queens as well. It's gonna cost us some of these Phoenixes as the Spores are going ham. Oh my god. And Shinny will still hold on to this position. I say that the Queens are going down. Spine Crawler does finish. And mining is being denied. I say that Shinny still reinforces. The Spores do reposition. Void Ray coming in from behind, going for the Gas Geyser. Stargate did eventually go down. Oh, and Trigger has to lift up these Lings individually one by one. Now, Trigger is aware of the Hydras. If you recall, he did scout the Hydra den, is fully aware. Behind this, getting to charge into +1 and soon to be Storm and Archons. So, charge out Archon for Trigger. Does spot the Hydras. Pulling away. This is like a Zerg Cannon Rush. Exactly. It is like a Zerg Cannon Rush. Overlords are being hunted down. Shin's still taking full advantage of that Gas Geyser. Hydra's coming into support. Storm is on the way. And Trigger is still on 3 bases. Despite the drone count for Shin, I will say that Trigger has the better economy. Up. Border goes down. And at least Shin tech-wise is getting into Hive and working towards Vipers. Shin is working towards Hydra Lurker Viper. Lurker Den now on the way. At the same time, Trigger's also building up. Shin now taking a 4th. It's been a very chaotic game, and we're kind of headed towards the mid-game here in a more standard way. The Phoenixes! Gets 1, gets 2. 2 Phoenixes go down, and Mass Hydra moving out. And this army is looking terrifying, but there are storms. Really only Storm though. The Immortal! The Immortal is caught out. Unfortunate rally here for Trigger. Immortal goes down for free. Trigger, he's up against the wall. Massive Storm. Massive Storm does connect. Nice split here from Shin. Does avert the second Storm for the most part. And Shin may just have too much. Cybercore under fire. There's one Storm left. And Trigger has to make it count. No! Oh, the wrong Archon! Morphs in the Archon, uses the high energy High Templar. That was unfortunate. Oh, there's still almost one Storm left. The Hydras are cleaned up. Not bad. Not bad. The Hydra's gonna be shut down. Trigger holds. Whew. Trigger does barely hold on. But we have 15 more Hydras on the way. And Trigger is gonna need to replace those High Templar. He needs Storm again. As many Storms as possible. 5 High Templar morph in. Trigger moving out. Now with Archon Immortal, he should be able to shut this down. And Shin will evacuate. He knows that the space, he can't really take advantage of it anymore. Trigger pulls back. He doesn't want to be caught out. Lunker production has begun. 8 lurkers on the way. 8 lurkers, lurker range. No Vipers yet. Not for the time being. Just Hydra Lurker. Oh, the Cybercore was sniped earlier, so the Cybercore has to be rebuilt. Cybercore is on the way, but this is a very similar game state, or I should say, similar compositions that we saw previously, where Shin is going Hydra Lurker, and Trigger is getting into Immortal Archon. The difference this time, though, is that Trigger doesn't have as much map control. Shin is on 4 bases, and he's getting a 5th. 5th base is on the way. Shin is securing his economy, and the pressure right now is on Trigger to deny it. Pushing into these lurkers is going to be difficult, but Trigger can deny the gold once he spots it. Does run into the lurkers. Gold base is spotted. Trigger is aware. And again, he wants to try to rotate towards that base. We'll see if he can. Trigger pulling back. Zealot run by towards the north. Spine Crawlers will finish up in time. There's 1 lurker to defend as well. And Shin is trying to keep up. Lurker's getting in position. And this time, Shin is securing his bases. Lurkers are ready. And Shin is maxed. That's Shin achieving something that he could not on Side Delta. But Shin is maxed out, and he has all of his bases secure. Shin has an economy. Not just an economy, a gold base. That's across the map. Ooh, it's a slow warp in. That is a little bit brutal. Yeah, lurkers, they do pop out. Some of them do at least. Does force a big reaction. Trigger forced to turn back around. Shin breaking out, going towards the right-hand side. Oh, and he's even denying mining here at the center base. And Trigger is being pulled apart. Yeah, massive storm though. Trigger, oh my god, the storms! Takes down the Lynx, takes down the Hydras. And Trigger, he will take the main fight. Across the map, he's losing workers, he's losing control of his bases. He does force Shin back. Well, can he save the expansion? It doesn't look to be the case. Yeah, the Nexus will fall. Shin making his way to the main. This choke point is brutal. This ramp. Trigger expanding towards the top left. Okay. Taking a northern expansion. The goal base is still fresh as well. Bear that in mind. Trigger can take that later on. Once he clears up the lurkers. Trigger moving forward. Shin is in position.
Our forces are under
Late to burrow. Storm Storms aren't too bad. Likewise here towards the north as well. Big storm. Oh my god, the storms on the hydrants. Shin pushing in. Not like this. Yeah, lurkers are being cleaned up, and Trigger will shut this down. We'll get on top of the final lurker, cleaning up these Nidus worms. And a Trigger can finally clear up this creep and expand. Eventually. There's still that one tumor that's denying an expansion. Trigger will clean it up. At the same time, Ling Rumbai runs into cannons and shield batteries. For the first time, Shin spots this base. He does respond. Shin on how many lurkers? 12, now 11. 11 lurkers. Harassing towards the south. Oh, this is an expensive run by for Shin. Bleeding out a lot of lurkers here. Doesn't get much for it. At the same time, though, do we have a recall? And not enough time. Shin, he will claim this base. Trigger expanding towards the south. And again, Trigger can still take the gold. Shin taking into a greater spire. Thinking about Broodlords. I mean, that would be a better response here to this kind of army. Would be Broodlord instead of Hydra Lurker. There we go. Corruptors are on the way. And Shin, he's getting ready for those Broodlords. And what is the answer to Broodlord? Sky Toss. This is where Trigger is being called out. He's not ready for a Sky Toss transition. Shin is one step ahead tech-wise. Now, what I will say is that Shin's lurker count is very low. Because Shin is working towards Broodlords, he only has 6 lurkers. Right now, Shin is vulnerable. If Trigger moves in here and now, Trigger, he could kill Shin before Broodlords come into play. The space should fall. Shin forced away. Oh, that's, oh my god! The drones! 22 workers go down, 25! Zerg players look away! The storms are brutal! The gold base will be denied. A nice pickoff, but Shin holds, and Shin has broods. 9 broodlords now in production. And Trigger has no idea. Trigger doesn't see, Trigger doesn't know. Now we have a fleet beacon on the way, but again, this is a late fleet beacon for Trigger. We'll get another base though. Broodlords are slow. Slow to react, slow to respond. The expansion should go down. Oh my god, massive storm of the Hydras. Base falls, Broodlords are scouted. Trigger knows. Oh. The army is trapped, Broodlords coming in from behind. Distracted by the Southern Army. Getting 1, getting 2 High Templar. Trigger is committing in. This is an expensive force here for Trigger. Now there's no recall. Is getting on top of the base. Storm on the drones, storm on the Hydras. The expansion is going to go down. Nice storms. Oh my god. Yeah, the Broodlords in the center of the map. I thought they were going to be catching out this army. Trigger will lose this, but does trade well. I mean, he shut down 2 bases. Shin on 1 mining base. But has Broodlords. That's the problem here. Shin might not have an economy, and Trigger does make sure of that. Yeah, Trigger is pulling Shin apart and sniping bases. And Shin is all in. Shin is all in at this point. He's rallying everything across the map. And Trigger has to buy time. Tempests are on the way. And the final mining base of Shin, it's going to go down. Oh no! The Viper! Viper gets sniped. Broodlords turn around. Broodlords are racing back home. Trigger pulls back. Oh. And the Broodlords are spotted. And they're catching out the army. Getting an Archon. Trigger, he has to get out of here. Can he save the High Templar? The army does rally over. Storms on the Broodlings, the High Templar, they're going down. The Immortals are trapped as well. It's some brutal losses for Trigger. And how many Tempests does he have? 1. Oh, 1 Tempest for Trigger. They take so long to build. The Broodlords have arrived. 10 Broodlords. Bearing in mind, no economy. There's no economy for Shin. What you see is what you get. And is there a Viper? There is one. There's 1 Viper, but it's across the map. The base is denied. Trigger now on half a base economy. Both players are broke. Shin is long distance mining. Trigger, I mean, has technically a better economy than Shin, barely. Shin is expanding. But Shin has the army. Now, I do favor Trigger's army with Tempest as long as we avoid the abduction, right? There's that one Viper. So I say one. Ugh, now 3 Vipers. 3 Vipers for Shin. And his win condition is if he can abduct and snipe those Tempests, I mean, that's game. That is the only thing threatening those Brood Lords, is the Tempest. It's going to be on Trigger to feed back the Vipers and to zone them away. Shin now has a fully operational base. The Trigger is attempting to take one. Does warping across the map. Catching Overlords. Shin double expanding. Getting another base. There's a lot of Broodlords going down. Oh, sorry, I mean Overlords. The other Lord. Ah. As Trigger's building out that Tempest count. How many Tempests now? 5! Soon to be 6. Not bad. It's a pretty robust army. Trigger does have Blink. He can hunt down more Overlords. Shin is going to get supply blocked. It's a weird time to get supply blocked, but it's going to happen. Overlords are being hunted down. One more. One más, man. As Overlords are being rebuilt. More Broodlords are amassing. It's going to be 10 Broodlords. Corruptors now coming into support. Shin is securing his bases. He's on 1.5 base economy. Trigger double expanding as well. Trigger currently has map control. And with this, it looks like Trigger is going to be the first to remax. Getting into Tempest and Carrier. How many High Templar? Still only 3. I'm really concerned by the low High Templar count. Only 3. Low Archon count as well. Main army is spotted. Trigger pulling back. Like, now that the Corruptor count is getting higher, I say that. I was going to say, with the Corruptor count getting higher, that's where you do need some support for the Tempest. I'm referring to Archons, I'm referring to Storm. Otherwise, the Tempests are exposed. At the same time, though, these are 0-0 Corruptors. Like, no upgrades. +1 air attack has just begun. So these Corruptors are not as ideal. Both players are maxing out. Trigger going for Void Rays. I mean, Void Rays do make sense in this kind of game state, just because there are Broodlords, so Archons and High Templar are less effective thanks to the Broodlords. So Void Rays or a more Skytoss heavy composition, it makes sense. Yeah, making 2 Void Rays at a time. Young comes in, gets 1, gets 2. Takes extra volleys, but does get 2 Tempest. Massive pickoffs. 2 Tempests go down. Shin taking another expansion. The Spore Forest is up. +1 air attack just now finishing for Shin. +2 about to finish up for Trigger. Trigger hunting down more Overlords. Shin does have to rebuild them, as he is close to being supply blocked. How many Infestors do we have? 3. 3 Infestors, 3 Vipers. Not too many Spellcasters, which means we have to make them count. Will they get feedbacked? Maybe shut down. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to Trigger going for a recall across the map with a Mothership. This army, like, when it comes to Broodlord Infestor, this army is so immobile. It's so slow. So we could try to snipe some of these southern bases. I mean, there's no mining, but there's tech. Specifically the Greater Spire. Fungal does miss. But the Greater Spire here would be exposed. Snipes up Viper as well. Ooh, for a High Templar. They do trade. There's 2 Vipers left. Fungal comes in, catches High Templar, no follow-up, nice feedback. So Trigger, he does out-trade Shin. Shin down to 1 Infestor without energy. And 2 Vipers. Speaking of sniping tech, Trigger, he does rotate with his ground force. Nice Storm of the Corruptors. Shin responds with the Hydras. Shin does respond. How many Tempests do we have? 10! 10 Tempests! We're getting within range of the base. Fungal goes up. And Shin is going for the dive. Going for the power bomb as well. Cloak is activated. Vipers get sniped. Yeah, no parasitic bomb. No fungal. It's just a head-on fight at this point. Overcharges pop. Massive Storm of the Corruptors. Are there enough Tempests though? The Corruptors are gaining ground. They're breaking through. Hydra's coming into support. Big fungal. But how many Corruptors are there left? We're down to 8 Corruptors. Oh, the Corruptors are getting thinned out. Down to 7. Down to 6. 5 Tempests. Big Storm. Yeah, the Corruptors are going down one after the other. The Corruptors are cleaned up, and now we can go for the Broodlords. The Broodlords are exposed. And Tempest, they can push in. Tempests are pushing forward. The base does fall. But the Broodlords, they have to retreat. They have to back off. They have to respect the Tempest. A bit of a misrally. Corruptor gets thrown away. Back up to 4 Corruptors. Getting a Lurker. And Trigger still just out-trading Shin. And that was a brutal fight earlier. We'll take down an Immortal. Trigger, a lot of his supply is in the ground army. Bear that in mind. Down to 3 Tempest. The Broodlords are still up and running. Again, because of the low Stargate count for Trigger, it takes a lot longer to rebuild that Skytoss army. Low bank, I should say. Low everything. It's a chaotic game state. Another Tempest goes down, and another. Down to 2. But it doesn't look like there are enough Corruptors. Down to 1 Tempest. Again, this ground army does struggle here. Trigger, he cannot push in. Still too many Broods. How many? 8 Broodlords. Trigger taking the Southern Gold. Trigger taking Shin's bases. Getting back into 3 Tempests at a time. Triple Tempest production. And Trigger, he is denied that expansion. Going for a Zealot round by. This time, not much in position to defend. There is a Lurker though. Nice is going to be shut down. The 1 Lurker denying any kind of mining. Shin no longer has a ground army. It's just purely Corruptor Broodlord. And he's going for the dive. Takes down the carrier. Gets 1. Gets a second carrier as well. And are there too many Corruptors? He's going for the Tempest. There's 4 Tempests left. Down to 3. Oh my god, but the Overcharge puts in a lot of work. GG gets caught. Shin, he runs out of steam. That is all he had left. He doesn't break the army. And Trigger will take the series 2-0. Whew. GG. Oh my god. GG. Well played, Shin. Running out of bases, running out of resources. That's all he had left. And yeah, very impressive stuff here by Trigger. This was a very chaotic game. Remember, it started with like a quote-unquote cannon rush. I like the verbiage there. It started with a spine crawler rush at the goal base, which was quite successful initially. And Shin had control of the map initially as well, getting into his own Lurker tech, getting into his own Hydras, getting into a robust economy, unlike game 1. But Trigger was able to stabilize. He was able to stabilize, able to keep up. able to eventually get into a sky toss as well. It was a wild back and forth. GG, well played. A beautiful game. A beautiful game. Congratulations to Trigger. My only regret is that there is no ace match. I would have loved to have seen a game 3 between these two because this was a wild series. Both game 1 and game 2 did deliver with comebacks and yeah, both players recovering from the brink of defeat. GG. GG, well played. Trigger refusing to die in both games, and Trigger will advance on to the grand finals. GG, well played. Congratulations, Trigger does take down Shin 2-0, and now we have our grand finals. The Beyond versus Shin rematch is denied, and Trigger steps up instead. It's going to be Trigger versus Beyond in a best of 5 grand finals. Let's go. Let us go. GG, well played. I feel like I have to message Trigger. GG, well played. We're getting ready for this finals. Meanwhile, shout out to Little Mac. Thank you so much for the raid. Gaha, Bappy God. Thank you so much. Hope you had a great time covering the matches on your end as well. I know it's getting quite late in the Americas. I know it's getting quite late, but I hope you had a good time nonetheless. And welcome, everyone. Welcome from a Little Mac stream. Welcome, and get ready for those finals. We go. Here we go. We are setting things up. Vetoes are underway, and soon we will have that best of 5. And I want to favor Beyond, but at the same time, Beyond did show a little bit of weakness against Geralt earlier. So I want to believe. I want to believe that Trigger can cause an upset here. I'm hoping for a back and forth at least. I'm hoping for, you know, a game 4, potentially a game 5 as well. Hoping to avoid a 3-0. I'm sure we will. Trigger is on point. He is, Pappy. He is. Shin may not have won the game, but he won our hearts with that build. That was the first time I've experienced that. To see the delayed proxy hatch for a spine rush at the gold. I mean, it was successful, right? Like, he was able to get damage, able to trade well against the Void Rays. Like, it did a lot, and he was able to gain value by even mining the gold himself, even mining the high yield gas geyser. Just a wild game. A wild start. GG. GG, well played. Now we are getting ready for those finals. Five finals. Shout out to Segasaurus for boosting the prize. As a reminder as well, shout out to Segasaurus. Segasaurus is a very passionate fan of StarCraft, very passionate viewer, and Segasaurus has donated 150 USD to the prize pool. Usually the prize pool of this tournament is just 150, but now it's been doubled. It has been doubled, 300 USD this week for the Tenacious Turtle Tussle. And of course, top 4 get paid out. Shout out to Geralt and Shin for making it into the top 4, but now it's going to come down to Beyond and Trigger for the top 2. We go. We are going to be jumping in. Vetoes are done, and we have our first lobby. We're going to be loading into Crimson Court for the first time tonight. For the first time. If you want to help support, exclamation mark Matcherino in the chat. We do have a Matcherino page where you can boost the prize pool and help fund the event. The command's not working. Oh, never mind. Oh, I misspelled it. There we go. We're good, we're good. But exclamation mark Rancherino in the chat if you guys want to be surprised for yourself. Likewise, again, even just following the channel is enough support, whether it's here on Twitch, whether it's on YouTube. VODs are available on YouTube instantly as well, so whether you prefer Twitch or YouTube, And you can pick your platform as we are diving into the grand finals, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Crimson Court, we have the South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Byun. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the Canadian Protoss player, the Red Protoss, living in the land of South Korea currently, representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. And if you're in the chat, you know what time it is, you know what time it is. It's time to gamba. Let's go. Predictions are now open. Place your bets in the chat for who you think will claim the series. Again, both players have been on fire, of course. Byun, he is the reigning champion of last week's tournament. But Trigger, he's walking that royal road. He is doing well so far. He took down Shin, one of the other favorites of the event, 2-0. But how does Trigger fare in a PvT? Now, what I will say coming into this is that Trigger has the luxury, has the experience of practicing with Clem. For those who do not know, Trigger is currently in South Korea, and when Clem was in Korea, they were living together. Trigger, Estrella, Future, and Clem, they were all living together in an Airbnb. They're all staying together, preparing for EWC, preparing for Esports World Cup, and clearly it paid off. Clearly it did pay off. Clem was able to, of course, be our champion. Oh god, as the probe gets shut down. Oh god. Rough start for Trigger. But Clem is now our world champion, now the best player in the world, and Trigger was a part of that. You know, Trigger, he did play his part, of course, allowing for, helping to facilitate for that kind of team house environment, and helping in the practice, in the preparation. And now, how is Trigger looking in the aftermath of EWC? Again, Trigger unfortunately wasn't a part of Esports World Cup. He wasn't able to represent his nation at the event. It was Estrella instead. Estrella was repping NA. But we'll see. See if Trigger can showcase his PvT here and now. Now standard opener. Gate expanded to Cybercore. Likewise, Byun going for the Rax expand back at home. Oh, my apologies. Going for the double gas opener back at home. So double gas out of Byun, going for a delayed CC, going for a faster factory, and opening up with additional Reapers and Hellions. So a bit of a more assertive start by Byun. Dipping in. Oh! Catching a probe. One probe goes down, but the boys are being pulled and we lock down the Reapers. Not a bad defense here by Trigger. He will shut this down. All the Reapers will fall, and he saves his workers. We'll lose 2 probes in total for 2 Reapers, not bad. Hellion dives into the natural. And Trigger does pull away in time, does save his workers. Hellion coming back in, gets 1 probe. It's 1 extra worker, just the 1 though. So, oh, does get away. I spoke too soon. I spoke too soon. Hellion gets shut down. And these were better trades for the Protoss. Looking at the Unisource tab, that was 2 Reapers and 1 Hellion for 3 probes. Basically 1-to-1 trades, and ideally we want more than that. What I will say though is at least Byun got a full scout. We have a take of choice. Could be a Twilight Council opener from Trigger, and Byun did not confirm. Oh, okay. Byun is slightly in the dark here as of the take of choice. Setting up a trap in the middle of the map. Widowmines are burrowed. Following it up with the drop. So Widowmine drop into the main. Back at home, getting to his 2-1-1, soon to be 3-1-1 setup. Widowmine's moving out. And so far, Trigger has held his own, but can he keep up with the drop play? As he has 2 Stalkers in the main, 2 Stalkers at the natural. Medevac is revealed, and Trigger does respond. Widowmine's going for the main base. Trigger does pull away in time. Oh my god. Losing 2 probes so far. Not bad for Byun. He also did go a little bit further in and did scout the tech. Is aware of Blink. He is aware of the Twilight Council. So Byun confirms. And really that's the main kind of value here in the Widowmine drop. You're not really meant to get damaged with this. Like getting 2 probes to 2 Widowmines is for the course. But really what's important is rescouting. Rescouting and confirming what the Protoss is up to with the medevac. Meanwhile, Trigger taking a 3rd. This is the power of Crimson Court. This is also why we often see this map vetoed, is because this 3rd base is quite secure, quite difficult to harass, without knocking down rocks or going for drops. Very often we do see more later games here on Crimson Court, as players can secure their 3rd, 4th, and even 5th bases. Observer gets caught out. Trigger does at least confirm the production. And Trigger, he's hoping to try to meet up with that main army, try to slow it to try to slow it down as best he can. Will actually miss the move out. Oh, run jump comes in. Trigger does run up. The probes. Jesus. When my shot goes off, nice retargeting out of Beyond, buying time. 3 probes go down at the same time. Stalkers, they get across the map. They go for the natural. But Beyond is pushing, and Trigger did miss the move out. Tanks have arrived. SCVs are falling. Well, those are 2 tanks that are getting within range. And Trigger forced a recall. But the tanks do siege. Pylon's going to go down. That will depower the Robo. The Robo's depowered. It's going to be repowered by the backup Pylon, thankfully. But Trigger is up against the wall. 10 probes going down. The Robo under fire within range of the tanks. Oh, and that might just be too much. Medevac is sniped. The Colossus is denied. Observer goes down as well. And Beyond is going for the kill. Going for the throat. Nexus under fire. The tanks within range of everything. The Pylons, the Robo, and the base. And Trigger, he goes to the blink. GG gets called. He gets shut down. And Beyond takes game number 1. GG. GG, well played. Beyond taking a lead in the series. Unfortunately for Trigger, he did miss the move out. He did go for a counterattack with his Stalkers, but he alas did miss the main army. Likewise, the Observer got sniped, so Trigger was unaware of the move out. Because of that, he was unable to slow it down as well. Unable to slow it down, unable to buy time and force sieges. And with that, GG. GG, well played. We are jumping into game number 2. Oh, a very decisive game there from Beyond, but again, I'm sure we're going to have a more back and forth here. I'm hoping that we can have a more back and forth game state as we're loading into Post-Youth. Once again, very different map. We're going to be experiencing it for the first time tonight. An often vetoed map in the map pool. But hey, it's the best of 5. In this kind of scenario, we can experience them more often. And here we go, spawning in the top right-hand corner of Post-Youth, we have the South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran, representing Shopify Rebellion, leading the series 1-0. It is Beyond. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the Canadian Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Basilisk, down in the series. Looking to bounce back here and now to tie things up. It is Trigger. We go. Here we go, as we are going to be entering up or settling into the mid game or in the early game. Beyond going for more economic opener, which makes sense on Post-Youth. You do have the pocket expansion, the in-base natural. So you can cut corners and be more greedy. See in the chat talking about engaging the army ahead of time. I mean, we spoke about it. That's also the unfortunate scenario that Trigger was in, where half his Stalkers were across the map instead of everything all together. Again, he was out of position. And Beyond did take full advantage of Trigger. But I'm sure we'll see a very different kind of game state here in Game 2. Beyond going for the CC on location. Trigger will spot, will attempt to delay. Will be as annoying as possible. Attempts to delay, but the CC is going to be thrown down. Trigger has to pull away. And likewise, back at home, Trigger also embracing his own expansion. And we'll see where we go from here. As a reminder, last game, Beyond did open up with a mine drop into a very committed move out. I would imagine Blink once again for Trigger, but we'll see. Bearing in mind as well that Trigger did go for a 2-gate Blink into a 3rd. This time might go for a safer opener instead, referring to a 3-gate Blink Stalkers and maybe even 4-gate Blink. I'm not too fond of 4-gate Blink on this map, so I'm not leaning too heavily on that, but we'll see how many gateways are invested. Reaper dips into the main. We'll threaten the mineral line. Not finding too much damage. It's going to be a Twilight Council once again for Trigger. But the real question becomes, how many gateways? How economic or how safe is Trigger going to be? Was the first probe is going to go down. Nice KDA charge from Bjorn. Gets one probe. Behind this, ooh, rushing into a third CC. Looks like 3 CC, 3 racks out of Bjorn. Oh my, a very greedy build here from the Terran player. This leads into a stim timing. This leads into a bio move out. But again, with a very fast third, this does mean that Bjorn is going to snowball out of control in the mid game. And now suddenly the pressure is on Trigger to punish this, to punish the greed of Bjorn. And we'll see if Trigger can. But now Trigger's in the dark. Trigger just maintaining his bases, going for a second gateway. For the time being, 2-gate blink. Probe is on the way. And again, something like 3 or 4-gate blink stalkers can punish this. For the time being, Trigger is still settling in. Now, the way this works is, again, Stim is on the way. We're building up a heavy bio army for Bjorn. It's going to be a delayed 3 racks. But it's not really designed to get damage done, just designed to defend, to allow you to get your third base up and running. Get that third. And just skyrocket ahead in the economy. Behind this, it does look like 2-gate blink into a third. So Trigger is going for an economic start. Which, on the one hand, is... I mean, he's going to get away with it. Like, he's going to be fine. Unlike the previous game, he's not going to be shut down. But Bjorn is being greedier. He's just being more greedy. And we'll get away with it. Behind this, Trigger going to be working towards Storm, not Colossus. Let's go. Temple Archives on the way. Working towards Storm. Do love to see it. Can be quite risky, of course, as your splash damage is going to be more limited compared to Colossus, but has a lot of potential. How much more damage you can deal. Trigger just now dipping into the main, and it looks like he will scout the CC. He confirms the third base is already done, and now Trigger knows. Now Trigger knows how greedy Bjorn has been, but can he really do anything about it? He can be active with his stalkers, that is true, but I'm not so sure he can really delay the third base. Okay, Bjorn is aware, scans, shuts down the Observer. Observer goes down, stalkers are pushing, but that's going to be a lot of bio. A lot of Marines Marauders with Stim. And Trigger cannot push into this. Storm is almost done. And Storm, Mass Gateway Explosion behind this. Getting to charge lots. Now the downside of this army composition or this build up for Bjorn is the lack of factory-based units. Like, there's no Widow Mines, there's no tanks behind this. This army has a lot of DPS, but it's also quite fragile to something like Storms. And here we go. Trigger is pushing. And if the Storms do connect, Trigger can break through this. Speaking of, not bad. Oh my god. A good third of the army goes down. A nice initial Storm. Zoning Bjorn away. Just melting those Marines. And here come the reinforcements. More Zealots and Archon. Trigger, can he break through this? Oh, nice spread from Bjorn. Avoiding the Storm, at least trying to. Doesn't quite snipe. And Trigger, he's breaking through. Oh, another massive Storm, a good connection. There's one Storm left. And he's going for it. A nice spread here from Bjorn. Does put up his army. Yeah, only Stalkers remaining. We need Zealots. Boys are being pulled. Like Trigger, he's so close to breaking Bjorn. But the concave is too good. Stalkers are going down, reinforcements not in time, but he does get 13 SCVs. Does get the mineral line. Trigger, he's doing it. Breaks through the middle line, 14 SCVs go down. He has punished the greed here of Bjorn. Punished the composition. And he will deny the third. The Ghost Academy is also exposed. Could go down as well. Do we have a Storm? Not quite yet. High Templar just morphed in. Archons are being targeted. High Templar, they need a couple more seconds, a little bit more time. Beyond does hold, but again, it costs him every single worker at the third. 17 SCVs. At least Beyond does save the Ghost Academy. Forces back the army. Trigger taking his own fourth, going for the gold. And it's going to be now on Beyond to go for some counter aggression. Prism drop across the map. Drop into the main. Trigger not quite ready for this. Forced to recall. Oh, even depowering 4 gateways. Denying the warp in. Oh, massive storm. Even snipes the Immortal. Oh my. Beyond getting so much value. Speaking of value across the map, 4 CVs. Not bad. But Beyond did snipe an Immortal. Did depower the gateways. And did force a recall. So Beyond did get more out of his drop. Trigger trying to catch out the army. Forcing out the storm. Still very tense. Trigger not at the goal base. It's exposed. Does have a handful of Zealots. The Immortal miss rally. Brutal pick off. Another Immortal goes down. That's 2 Immortals sniped. Zealots, they do force a friendly fire. Nice clean up here at the Trigger. It does have 5 High Templar. Doesn't have 5 Storms though. Ghost coming in. EMP! Oh my god, massive EMPs catches every single High Templar. Not like this. And Trigger, he has overextended, gonna lose everything. The Immortals, the Archons, the High Templar as well. Yeah, Beyond is snowballing out of control. Trigger going for a desperation, warping across the map, trying to force Beyond back home. Beyond does turn around with his reinforcements, but he has plenty back home to defend. Yeah, he's stimming in. Beyond his third base back up and running. And he's breaking through. He's just pulling Trigger apart. Trigger cannot keep up. Again, this is the downside of opening up Storm, is that your High Templar, they're so fragile, but also so important. And if they get EMP'd, that's game. Because that's all the splash damage you had. There are no Colossus, there are no Disruptors. Trigger did need that Storm. And with that, the 4th base goes down. Trigger, he was playing on a knife's edge, Pat. And with that, Beyond, he doesn't just take down the 4th base, he's going for the 3rd. Gets 22 probes. 22 workers go down. Looks like Beyond might be forced to pick up, but reinforcements are on the way. Just 2 Immortals. Sorry, 2 Marauders. Not too much, but it might just be enough. Yeah, it's barely going to be enough. As Beyond stims in, going for the last remaining units here. The Stalkers, the Immortals. GG gets called, and Beyond will take game number 2. Whew. GG. Will take the 2nd game. And now Beyond is 1 game away from becoming this week's, or a back-to-back champion. As a reminder, Beyond was last week's champion as well over Shin. And now he is 1 game away. Trigger, again, he didn't have the worst start here. He was able to cripple the economy of Beyond while taking his own gold. But remember, Trigger was pulled out of position. The drop into the main spent the recall. That also meant that Trigger had a hard time getting back towards the front lines, towards the gold. To save that as well. The EMPs were brutal. Beyond just all over Trigger there. Catching out the Immortals, the High Templar. Just all over it. And now we're getting into game 3. Let's go. Here we go. We're going to be loading into Alcyone. Here we go, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alcyone, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran representing Shopify Rebellion, leading the series 2-0, 1 game away from becoming this week's Turtle Champion. It is Beyond. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Canadian Protoss player, the Red Protoss representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. Go. As again, I do want to believe that we can bounce back and make a series out of this. You can see Trigger, he's a little bit paranoid, scouting for proxies. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Beyond. 2 cheese and 2 proxy in this series. But alas, Beyond going for the racks back at home and going for a double gas opener. As opposed to the previous 2 games, or the previous game, I should say, Beyond is being a little bit safer here. Going double gas, faster factory, delayed CC for Beyond. Trigger just trying to get a read on what's going on. We go. Factory now on the way. Trigger does confirm the position of the racks. He's aware. He's settling back in. And again, this is merely only the beginning of the night as well. I say beginning of the night. It's still early morning, but in how many hours time? 9 hours? In 9 or so hours time, we're going to be live once again here on the channel with the Wardy TV Monday Cup. So plenty more content. I mean, again, just Saturday, Sunday, Monday, even into Tuesday. It's all quite busy here on the CranKy Ducklings. Plenty of events on the horizon. Plenty more StarCraft to come, as the weeklies are all in full swing. As the Reaper does get behind the mineral line. It is going to be a Stargate opener this time for Trigger for the first time this series. No Blink, no Twilight Council. And the Reaper will confirm. The Reaper does get eyes on the Stargate. Likewise does delay mining at the natural for a couple of seconds. Oh, and I'm curious how aggressive Beyond is going to be here. For now, getting into his 1-1-1. And my apologies, I mean, it is a Stargate opener, but it is not Phoenix. It's going to be an Oracle first instead. It's going to be an Oracle opening. The Reaper is shut down before scanning the initial unit. So Beyond is a little bit in the dark. And this usually leads into a fast Twilight Council, and there is Twilight Council behind this. Now, on the one hand, this can catch a Terran player off guard just because they're kind of hard switching into Blink Stalkers or Charge Lots. Beyond is moving out. Hoping to catch out that initial unit. You can see Beyond focusing on anti-air. He's got Cyclones on the way, Vikings as well, getting ready for the Phoenixes. Phoenixes that are not coming. As there it is, Blink is now on the horizon. Now what I was going to say when it comes to the downside of this opener is that Blink is a lot more delayed compared to, you know, the standard Blink timing. So if Beyond were to move out, Trigger would be vulnerable. Here and now, he has nothing to defend. He has 1 Stalker and a shield battery. Thankfully, Beyond is being more defensive, at least initially. He's building up, getting ready to defend against units that aren't coming, so Trigger gets away with the 3rd base. 3rd base is on the way, now reinforcing. Bearing in mind these are still vanilla Stalkers, still vulnerable. But Beyond is not pushing, he's going for a 3rd CC. So Beyond is getting in towards the mid game, which means that Trigger is safe. Should be safe. Should get away with this. As the scan does reveal the lack of production. Spots the Stargate. Trigger faking a Phoenix. Does reveal it here to the scan. Do love to see it. Trying to make it look like he's been making Phoenixes the entire time, when really it's Blink Stalkers. Here we go. The Oracle has yet to really pull the trigger as well. We have a Forge on the way for +1. Blink finishes up. Charge now on the way. The Phoenix will complete, so there is going to be some anti-air here or some way to deal with drop play for Trigger. Oh, but we'll bleed out one of those Stalkers. Takes a mind shot to the face. Only making the singular Phoenix. Stalkers are revealed. Beyond in position. Again, it's on Beyond to expand and take that third. It's on Trigger to delay for as long as he can. Behind this Trigger going for a massive gateway explosion. Trigger's also staying on a lower gas count. He's only got... I say that. Never mind. I was going to say only 3 gases, which is true, but now extra gases are being taken. Which means Trigger can now tech into Robotech. Into splash damage. Towards the Robotics Bay. Into Immortals, Colossus, Disruptors. More gases are being taken. And there's the Bay. Without the gases, I would have assumed it would have been a much more Zealot-heavy composition with extra gateways and just mass Zealot. No, it's taking extra gases, working towards Colossus. 4th base being taken as well. Beyond does situate himself at the 3rd. Does establish. And Trigger, he just is trying to buy time, has map control, and waiting for his 2nd Robo to come into play. To get into those Robo units. Likewise, Trigger also has his Zealot runway ready. So if Beyond ever moves out, Trigger is ready to punish. He's ready for with the counter attack. Speaking of, he's going for it. Oh, Beyond does spot it. He pulls back. Does pull back in time. Tank, oh, not quite exposed. Trigger pulls away. And now Beyond is on notice, keeping reinforcements back at home to defend. Colossus production has begun. When the Stasis is spotted. At the same time, Zealot Runby trying to catch reinforcements, even coming in from behind. Trigger going for the surround. Does he have enough though? Auto charges are thrown down. Zealots, they just melt. And this is not the fight to take. Oh, Trigger bleeding out some Stalkers. I like the idea behind the surround, but Beyond was more than ready for it. Just down the Zealots, and now he's moving out. Now he knows, okay, I've dealt with the run by. Zealots tried to surround me, which means they cannot counterattack. That is a lot of Zealots to defend. Colossus has arrived. Disable is not available. Needs a little bit more time. As Trigger tries to bounce on the army before the army does siege. Trading with the buy, but the Zealots go down. It is enough though. It is barely enough. Trigger does force Beyond back. Ooh, he survives. Maintains a Colossus. Trigger does hold, but it did cost him a lot of gateway units. 30. Oh my. 32 Zealots. I didn't realize just how many were thrown away there, but I mean that was including the attempted run by earlier. Speaking of, another run by is moving out. Beyond had to spot a Marine. Yeah, Beyond getting in position with those Widow Mines. But upon seeing the Colossus, he doesn't commit. 2nd Starport's on the way. That should be for additional Viking production. Eventually into Liberators as the game goes longer. Ghost production has begun. 2-2. Still no 4th CC for Beyond. Not yet. Oh wait, no, there it is. 4th base now being taken towards the left-hand side. And Trigger's going to try to pounce in. The choke point is brutal, but the tanks are going down. Again, just a really awkward engagement here at the Xel'Naga. And Beyond, he's trading decently here. Catches an Archon. Gets one, gets all the Archons actually. There's a Sable, he's going for the Colossus as well. Where's the buffer? There is none. And Beyond, he just dives in and takes down the Colossus. There's 2 Colossus left. A rough trade for Trigger. Workers coming in. Oh. And Trigger doesn't quite punish. Beyond gets away. Do you have another wave of reinforcements? Trigger, can he break this position? Still has those 2 Colossus. And Trigger trying to force his way in. Boy's being pulled. EMP does connect. but not many Vikings. SCVs are going down, but the Colossus are looking exposed. And the Viking count is getting higher. And Bjorn, oh, can he break through this? It's close. The Stalkers are holding their own. The final Colossus is going to go down, but here come the Zealots. And Trigger, he's done it. He breaks through the third base, takes down the SCVs. The Colossus may have gone down, but the Zealots are breaking through. The Zealots, man. They take down 31 SCVs, the third base. And Trigger is barely doing it. Okay, no more ghosts left, no more EMPs, more Zealots coming in. The gateway, man. Let's go. Who needs Colossus when you have Zealots, Pappy? True. Bust into the natural as well. GG gets called, and Trigger ties us, is looking to tie us up. Does put a point on the board. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Trigger does take his first game here and does start the comeback. Let's go. Does begin the comeback. Again, I was a little bit concerned that Trigger wasn't trading well enough in the center of the map, especially when reinforcements came in, but there was some nice juggling going on. Trigger lost his first Colossus relatively quickly, but did save the other two, did buy time. They added so much more DPS to the army. Eventually they went down, but by the time they did, they traded well enough. GG. GG, well played. Trigger is fighting back, and now we can settle into game number 4. We have a back and forth. That's all I wanted, Pappy. That's all I wanted. We're going to be loading into Site Delta. Here we go. So we're getting into our next game. Here we go. Side Delta is going to be next. And if Trigger can win this game, if he can force the ace match, I mean, he's one step closer. What a mass, Pappy. One step closer. Likewise, Bjorn still needs one more game to claim the series. Here we go. As spawning in the top left-hand corner of Side Delta, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran representing Shopify Rebellion. One game away from becoming our champion. It is Bjorn. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Canadian Protoss player, the Red Protoss representing Basilisk. One game away from forcing the ace match. Can he bring it back? Can he bring it home? Can he force that game 5? It is Trigger. Here we go. Again, Trigger having successful start to the game, if you recall, did open up Stargate into Oracle, not Phoenix. And if you remember in the early game of game number 3 there, Bjorn was stuck at home. He was preparing himself to receive Phoenixes, which never arrived. As a result, Trigger was able to establish his third base uncontested, unhindered, get into his Blink Stalkers, and get into his game. Get into the mid game, I should say. It was still quite close. It was still quite tense. And Trigger was bleeding out a lot of Zealots, but was able to break through in the end. And I'm curious, do we open up Stargate again? And this time, do we actually commit into Phoenixes? Or do we go for something different? What do you have for us, Trigger? What do you have? For the time being, going to be a Cyber Core back at home, so just a Gate Cyber Expand, standard opener out of Trigger. Nothing too crazy. Meanwhile, Bjorn going Marine first, not Reaper. Interesting. Is still going for the Rax Expand. So CC is going to be thrown down. Again, Trigger just being as annoying as possible. But because of this, Bjorn's scout is going to be delayed. There's no SCV scout and there's no Reaper scout either. There's just no scouting whatsoever. I mean, it is more difficult to scout with the Reaper just because of the Reaper cliff. It's very narrow and fully walled off. Towards the left, likewise a more defendable natural base as well, and we'll see where Bjorn takes us. As Trigger is soon to go into his tech of choice. We have yet to see a Robo opener out of Trigger. We've seen Twilight Council Blink, Stargate Oracle, and there it is, Twilight Council. Okay. Once again, going back to basics, going back to Blink. Twilight Council's on the way. I mean, technically, this could be a DT opener, but it's very rare to see that. Players don't often embrace DTs. I mean, Geralt did take a map over Beyond with that. True, did happen. But still a rare sight. So when it comes to Blink, the question becomes, how many gateways? 2-gate Blink, 3-gate, or 4-gate? Twilight Council is done. Second gateway is thrown down. Meanwhile, we just have Biana working towards his drop. Again, has been stuck back at home, but is building up quite a hefty Cyclone count. Let's go. Getting to his second Cyclone, Mass Marine. The Marine count has been building up from the start of the game. And this is going to be a committed move out here by Bjorn. Again, it's still just 2 gateways. Bjorn is going to be pushing. Shatters to the turtle. Big shatter. Bjorn does move out. Here come the reinforcements. Trigger gets 2-gate Blink into a third. Economic start at a Trigger. And no shield battery. No safety shield battery at the natural. Bjorn with 2 Cyclones. He can break through this. How many Stalkers? 3. 3 Stalkers. 2 of them are in the main. And only 1 in the natural. There we go now. Second Stalker has arrived. The army is spotted. And Bjorn, he goes for the dive. Boys have to be pulled. Probes are being pulled. Tanking some shots. A lot of workers going to be going down. Nice target finding. They get 1 of the Cyclones. Oh, that's 12 probes. That is 12 probe kills. Ay, ay, ay. Bjorn, he wants the Stalkers. Gets 1 more worker as well. Bjorn is going to be cleaned up. But that is a lot of damage. 11 probes for 2 Cyclones. 2 Cyclones and 5 Marines. Now, to be fair, that could have ended the game. We have seen Bjorn kill many a Protoss player before with that timing. Trigger holds. Trigger holds, and Trigger has a third. So even though Trigger lost 11 workers, he can replace them with that fast third base. Whew, okay. We hold, Mappy, we hold. Again, that was a messier defense just because there was no shield battery and no overcharge. Again, Trigger did miss the move out. Does defend nonetheless. Behind this, Bjorn getting to his 3-1-1. Is settling in. Behind this, a massive shout to Railback to the chat. Gah, Papi, gah. Thank you so much for resubscribing for 9 months. 9 months, Papi. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for being there. We do appreciate it. Do appreciate it, Papi. Hope you enjoy the content. Hope you enjoy the StarCraft. As Trigger is settling into a 3-base economy and now taking up. We have Charge on the way. We have the Bay as well for Colossus. Speaking of, Liberator does slip into the main. Does go for the siege. Main army's moving out. Probes are going down. Late reaction out of Trigger. Yeah, very late reaction. He was distracted by the main army. Stalker does fall. Bjorn going for a tri-pronged attack. Lib in the main. Drop of the third. And the main army is pushing. Trigger getting pulled apart. 6 probes going down. GG gets called. It's just too much. As he cannot keep up with the main army, and Bjorn will take the series 3-1, becoming this week's Tenacious Turtle Tussle champion. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Congratulations to Bjorn, as he is going to be our back-to-back champion. Last week he took down Shin in a best of 5. This time he takes down Trigger. GG, well played. Congratulations to Bjorn. But a shout out to Trigger. A shout out to Trigger because Trigger, he popped off this week. Coming into this tournament, I was favoring Shin. I was favoring Shin to have a rematch against Bjorn. I was expecting that to happen. Shin was the number 2 seed. Bjorn was the number 1 seed. But Trigger did deny that. And when it comes to the series of the night, if you missed out on the semifinals, I do recommend the VODs. I recommend Shin versus Trigger. Shin versus Trigger was the highlight of the night. It was by far the best series of the tournament. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of chaos and yeah, just something very different, very chaotic, very intense, very back and forth. A wild series. I do recommend. GG. GG, well played. I do recommend it. Alas, Trigger did fall to Bjorn here in the grand finals. Did hold his own, and a lot of these games were quite close as well. Bjorn did take it in the end. But alas, Trigger, he was so close to defending and holding in, what, game 1, game 2 as well. very intense games. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Bjorn. And with that, the week of Bjorn continues. Bjorn last night was playing in a show match, here this morning playing in this event, and tonight I'm sure we're going to be seeing him again. Not just Bjorn, but Shin and Trigger as well. What is tonight? The Wardy TV Monday Cup. That is going to be in, let me just double check. I believe in 9 hours? 8 hours, okay. In 8 hours time, we're going to be live once again here on the channel with the Wardy TV Monday Cup number 2. Oh boy, so the Korean players are going to be reprising their role here. Likewise, Trigger is in Korea, so Trigger, he will most likely also be there as well. Likewise with Bjorn, Shin, and many other Korean players as well. Now, this the Wardy TV Monday Cup is slightly later than the ESL Asia Cup was, so it is a little bit more friendly towards European players. So we do have more European representation in that tournament as well. Likewise, the home server is Americas, not Korea. So it is a little bit more friendly towards whether it's Europeans or American players or North American players competing in that event. So we do have a little bit more diversity, thankfully. Does lead to larger brackets and more intense gameplay. So if you are unsatiated, if you want some more StarCraft, we got you covered with the Wardy TV Monday Cup later on tonight in 8 hours. Likewise, tomorrow in, what is it, 21 hours time? Around 21 hours or so, we're going to be live here on the CranKy Ducklings with the Ursasaurus Cup. What is the Ursasaurus Cup? It's quite similar to this tournament, except instead of a turtle, there's a bear and a dinosaur. It's a hairy dinosaur instead. It is the Ursasaurus Cup. It is another open tournament, more catered towards the NA time zone. Similar to this one, so similar start time, but on Mondays instead of Sundays. We will also be casting that on this channel, so back to back, we have the Wardy TV Monday, and we have the Ursasaurus Cup as well. So plenty more content on the horizon. Do tune in, and I'm sure Bjorn is going to be there again. Last week, Bjorn was there for every single weekly. He was putting in the work, he was very active, and yeah, taking most of the money last week. We'll see if that continues this time. We will see. Here we go. And with that, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate the support. If you want to help support this tournament, you can do so via Matcherino. I should also, there we go, pay out the predictions as well. But yeah, exclamation mark Matcherino in the chat. Likewise, exclamation mark Patreon as well. Both ways to fund our tournaments, both ways to fund our events, and to support the CranKy Ducklings. So if you wish, you can do so via Patreon and via Matcherino. Otherwise, following us is the least that we ask of. Following us on Twitch, following us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have a Discord server as well where you can interact outside of just these broadcasts. And yeah, plenty of content here on the CranKy Ducklings. We cast on a daily basis. So many VODs available on YouTube. There's a lot of VODs, papi. Aye. So plenty of content out there if you are interested. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. If you want to even have some of these replays, if you want to watch some Bjorn versus Trigger or Trigger versus Shin, we do provide replays to our subscribers and patrons as well. So if you want to support us and if you want some benefit of it, then alas, replay packs are something that we do give out to our subscribers and patrons as well. Otherwise, we're going to be wrapping things up. Ladder time, no shot. no shot, papi, no shot. I mean, I would usually ladder, and I could ladder, but I just mentioned we have another cast in 8 hours. So I'd rather not cast than ladder stream and then cast. That's crazy. I did that last week. I did it last week. It probably wasn't a good idea. It wasn't a good idea. So as we wrap up this event, I'm probably going to get some breakfast. I haven't eaten yet. I'm gonna go get some breakfast. Gonna go take a break, edit VODs, schedule VODs, and ideally have a nap. I'm probably gonna have a nap so I can be well rested for the Wardy TV Monday, for the Monday Cup. So that's the plan. That's the plan. Get some food, schedule VODs, have a nap, get some rest, get some veg, and we'll be back for some more StarCraft. More StarCraft. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. We do appreciate it. Yeah, that's going to be tomorrow. Ursasaurus is going to be tomorrow as well. So again, back to back to back. Oh, the StarCraft. Yeah, that's going to be after the Wardy event. But otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. If you want to stick around, we're going to be giving another StarCraft streamer a raid. Who is live at the moment? Who is streaming? I see Ender is online. Oh, thank you so much. No ganzo. Thank you so much for subscribing for the first time with Prime. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy your emotes. Hope you enjoy your replay packs. Again, you can join us on Discord to gain access to the channel, which does have all the replay packs all filed and all listed if you're interested. Otherwise, thank you. Thank you for the support. And again, who is live at the moment? There's Practice X, there's Ender, there's Reaper. We'll give some love to Ender. To Caviar Napoleon Marquises Acampado. Oh my god. Ender himself. Filipino Zerg player. Give him some love, give him some support. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in 8 hours for our next cast for the next tournament. Until then, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Hasta luego, papi. Hasta luego.